Welcome you to the first ever episode of the YNOT and Shyway show, brought to you by Series E. We're finally doing this. We're finally talking shop, talking about Halo Esports, news, updates, rosters, drama, everything that comes to mind in the world of Halo Esports. Tony, I think it's about time we finally covered it. We basically have been doing this since Esports Arena began, just annoyingly, right? Like we talk, I think, a little bit too much, and eventually the viewers, they wanted a full show. What do you think, Tony?
Yeah, I mean, I'm really happy to be here. I call this barbershop talk. You know, when you're in the barbershop, we're talking sports, we're debating, we're having a good time and whatnot, and talking about everything. We're just fans who love talking about Halo, so here we are doing it.
Right. Just, you know, instead of having to do it in between games, let's take a full hour. Let's just talk about all the things we love in Halo and Halo Esports, all the new updates, because it is crazy in the world of Halo Esports, and not enough people, I think, are talking about it. Before we jump in, though, Tony, how you doing, man? How's your day been? I know you've been grinding Halo probably all day. You are just relentless on the grind, my dude.
Yeah, I mean, it's been tough, but it's been rewarding. I stream in every day, 2 podcasts a week, casting 4 times a week, and at this point, I put a tweet out saying I'm praying to Bound that he gives me strength to make it through these weeks.
I don't know why Bound you pick specifically.
Because he's a god.
Okay, there you go. How do you do it, Bound? Help my man out, Tony. But it's not even just that, right? Like, you're playing Halo, you're also like working out and streaming at the same time. Like, explain to me how the heck that works. Like, I jump in your stream and I see you doing shoulder press like in your gaming chair on broadcast. Like, my guy, how are you putting it together?
We do 4 reps per sub, and then we do 1 rep per 50 bits that are donated. And yeah, there was a week straight where I didn't go to the gym. So my punishment was, I'm like I need to get my card, I need to get my lift on, and that's how that kind of came to be. So I said I'm going to keep training like a Spartan until I look like a Spartan come the next HGS event.
Right. Though I'm just trying to figure out how you're gaming and then lifting weights in a gaming chair. Like, that can't be good for form, my dude. What are you doing? How? Like,
believe it or not, the form actually is immaculate. Like, people have come into my stream and they're like, bro, like, how was your form so good? I'm like, I don't know. This I have a hand-me-down chair that was gonna be thrown away by my neighbor like 2.5 years ago, and I was like, hey, can I get that? I cleaned it up, and that's what I use right now. And somehow it is the perfect proportion, broken and all, to have perfect form.
Okay. All right, I'll take your word for it. I can't do that. I got to segment it, right? I got to go to the gym, work out, play Halo. But all I'll say is I appreciate your damn energy, just relentless energy, and that's why we got you here, right? Because I know you're going to keep the energy going, and because I know we've got a lot to talk about. We got to do a lot in a short period of time. Okay, today's episode is focused on the NA Super. We have to get to the bottom of this roster mania. This is the biggest roster mania I think we've ever seen in the history of Halo Esports. And if you're coming in and you're wondering what happened to these teams, this episode, it's going to settle the score, okay? We're going to figure out who went where and what you should expect coming into the NA Super, which, by the way, is a $125,000 online tournament. I think the largest prize pool we've ever had for a Halo online tournament, at least in the better part of a decade, Tony.
All I'm saying is, they're paying out from 1st to 20,
Yeah.
I'm just saying, if you're trying to get a team together, we hop in the hyperbolic time chamber for 2 days and whatnot. I think we come out looking Super Saiyan, and maybe we get a piece of that prize. I'm saying, bro, like,
okay.
You got to realize, Sentinels are terrified of us. They know.
I was going to say, can I poach
we've been
Frosty?
watching. No. You can't call that. They have Royal One. We've been watching their gameplay closly, though. We know how to counter them. You know what I'm saying? I'm saying we got to get out there.
We got all their strats down. That is a great. But who? Like, do we get Wes on the team? Do we get other casters? Do we got to pick up a young phenom, right? I don't know what Carmea. I know he's like still. Kind of finding a roster, right? We got to take Envor, right? We got to grab somebody who's kind of just still trying to figure it out with the team. But we are going to let you know who has figured out who has a roster at this point, right? Now that we finally kind of come to the close of Roster Mania, we've got a first graphic to bring up as well for the viewers. I believe we'll start with pool play, just so you get a sense of where teams are landing in the NA Super, of course, coming up next weekend. This is what is confirmed. This is what we know. There's still 4 open slots on the graphic. Those 4 slots will be filled by the end of this weekend. This weekend, we've got an open qualifying tournament, the final one by LVT. Shout out to Louis V. Titan, who'll be putting that broadcast on. Myself and Tony will be casting there. Those slots will be filled. But, Tony, just based off of what we've seen, you want to give us a quick run-through?
Yeah, and actually, I think this Sunday actually is the Super Open. It's technically not even classified as a qualifier. Apparently, okay. I'm still trying to wrap my head around the whole thing. But yeah, I mean, I'm really excited to do so. We obviously know who the top 4 teams that made it in last week's qualifier, which was the 24th, and we know who are the ones who missed the mark. The likes of Crowd Pleasers, the likes of that team with Envor, and I believe Carbea and Alex Shock.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember the name.
Even SSG missed out on the opportunity. So
that's a big one.
I would say those are probably the favorites to make it in, to fill in those 4 empty roster spots.
But for now, what we at least have on screen, of course, if you're a listener, we've got Sentinels E United Complexity, Pool A. We got Cloud9 Phase, Oxygen, Pool B, Optic, G1 Fnatic, Pool C, and then Pool D is Pioneers, G2 Lions. Already confirmed. Will be in the tournament next weekend. But, Tony, I think what's more important for now is let's dive into some of these individual rosters, teams who have qualified in advance, who finally locked in their 4-man team. This has been chaos, right? I think amongst the roster mania, only 2 teams didn't move players around, right? I think it's just Optic and Sentinels are the only 2 teams out of all the rosters that have not changed in this roster mania. And I think that might be unprecedented, I think, in Halo Esports.
It really has been, and I can't wait to dive into each of these rosters because, for one, I thought the Pioneers would have stayed together forever, like from birth to retirement home, and even that was a roster that took a change. But we got a couple teams to get to before we actually get to them. But yeah, you're right. Only 2 rosters remain the same, and one of them almost got shaken up. There was one that almost, so there almost was only one.
And yeah, and they ended up, sticking together through thick and thin. We'll have to talk about that too, Tony. But for the listeners, let's just, if you don't mind, give me a quick rundown of the players on each of these teams. Let's just run through it.
So, I mean, with Sentinels, you got Frosty, Lethal, World 2, and Snake by Cloud9, Bound, Eco, Penguin, and Stellar Bound coming over from FaZe, Optic, APG, Formal, Lucid, and Trippy. Pioneers rocking Druk, Soulstipe, Talik, and then snatching Nick up from the United via trade. G2 rocking Gilkey, Sabinator, Straight Sick, and Redacted, who we believe to be Barcode. G1 bringing in Pre-Devastator, Switch 5, Squale from Kansas City, but also Boo Boo Doo coming in, formerly of FaZe. Speaking of FaZe, a total new roster, it feels like. You have Snipe Down and Falcated coming in, but joining them is Renegade, formerly of Cloud9, Spartan, formerly of E United. That you probably ask yourself, well, what the hell do E United look like? They're actually rocking Ryan Noob and Rain again, stealing Suspector from Exit, and like we kind of mentioned before, trading King Nick over to the Pioneers and bringing in Manny. Those are your top 8 qualified teams. There's also Complexity, Oxygen, Fnatic, and Lions, who qualified through the July 24th qualifier.
Well said, Tony. And yeah, based off of what you just said, the biggest changes, undeniably, FaZe and E United at the end of that phase. My God, we got to talk about them and just how much their team has changed around. And then E United, I'm glad they turned out the way they did. I was not sure what to expect, but they actually look like a God squad as well. And then, of course, those final four, or not final four, but I guess to round out who is already qualified, we'll do our best to touch on them as much as we can. Note that, once again, this is a 1-hour show. We're going to go through every single one of these teams, just a little background on them, kind of their performance so far. By the time we do that, Tony, I don't know, we're probably already bleeding time as it is. I'll take it. 10 minutes already gone, by the way.
I was going to say, we only went through 10 minutes. We didn't even start the show yet.
Right. We got to be fast-paced. All right, so let's start with Sentinels. Take it away, Tony. Sentinels, what are we looking at?
Yeah, I mean, when you look at Sentinels, you obviously have Frosty, Lethal, Royal Twin, Snakebite, like we mentioned before. You have Frosty, the former MVP, in my opinion, tied for first place in the as the best player in the league, tied with Renegade and Lucid right now. Yeah. You have Royal 2, who has been a dominant slayer for as long as I can remember. Royal 2 is one of the most dangerous players that we have in our league because he just simply, when it comes to point and click, he doesn't miss a shot. Yeah. Snakebite, kind of co-IGLing with Frosty, a great mind for Halo, a very aggressive player, definitely not afraid to do the dirty work, an entry frag player as well is Snakebite, which always been impressive how you can have that big of a brain and still be on the front lines. It's tough. Like normally, that IGL type of role will sit back behind their teammates as a shield, but no, he's up there. He's in the trenches, which I always thought was quite impressive. Frosty, the same thing. And then you have Lethal, who at one point we thought that he was going to be cycled out of this roster for Renegade. That was the rumors, and I believe those rumors to be true. Obviously, things didn't go exactly the way they wanted to, so Lethal's going to remain on the starting roster, and I'm glad because I think that Lethal does a lot for this team outside of the stat sheet that maybe people aren't witnessing. And I think he's an incredible talent. I think he's an incredible winner. And I think, every team needs someone to do that dirty work. And I think Lethal's the one that comes in for Sentinels with that 3-headed monster, Frosty, Royal 2, and Snakebite stuffing the stat sheet. Because we all know they can drop bombs at any given point.
Oh, for sure. That's the biggest thing I think with Sentinels is when you look at this team at this point, you cannot deny that they are the modern-day dynasty, right? Like, there is no team that has stayed in that top form for this long. Not even Final Boss have stayed this consistent this long. And, that's just a testament to the ability of this team. Dude, I'm already losing my train of thought. Where do I even begin with these boys, right? So damn talented. Tony, I think you already covered a lot of the big ones, though, right? Lethal, just trying to find a place on this team, because arguably, when it comes to LAN, this team just shows up, right? You can never count them out of that first place LAN. Go back to KC. They did take it. Of course, they struggled a little bit with Raleigh and Anaheim, fourth place kind of coming in. And I think Lethal's always kind of taken the kind of, notoriety, I guess, in the spotlight. Because when you look at Snakebite, Frosty, and Royal 2, you could argue that all three of those players currently on LAN are best in the world, are arguably best in the world, right? So I think it puts Lethal in that tough spot. I wonder if it was external pressure that led to him almost leaving the team, or if it was a team decision. In the end of the day, we can never really know, right? But the speculation was that it might have been Renegade coming in, couldn't come to terms with it. You wonder what does that do to the chemistry of the team? Do they still have... I'm assuming they still have that close relationship. And Lethal, you wonder, does he have what will he kind of come back into form as that top player, especially considering his history as a top player? He's one of the best, of all time at this point in his performance. You expect him to come back. Where are his passions at, right? We haven't seen him streams too much in recent history, but you can never kind of count Sentinels, that dynasty, out of first place. Let's jump over to C9. Tony, give me your thoughts on this one. We'll try to keep it short as we can with some of these teams. C9 with just a smaller change to their roster.
Yeah, I mean, you have Stellar, who's always been the secondary slayer on Cloud9. I've always been impressed with him, and, is a reason why he's one of West Clutch's favorite players that we have in the league. Penguin, another player that's willing to do that dirty work. I was doing some statistic work for with LVT not too long ago, and Penguin, most caps, highest hill time consistently for not only this roster, but sometimes in the entire league. Penguin, again, not afraid to do the dirty work, but also can slay out. Eco, Frosty's called him one of the smartest players that we have in our league. And then on top of that, with Renegade leaving this roster and bringing in Bound, I think Bound is a phenomenal fit for this roster. But there was some big shoes that needed to be filled. Eco has stepped it up as not only an intelligent player, but also as a main slayer on this roster. He's been stepping up in the stat sheet, and then obviously you have Bound, who is so creative with his movement, so aggressive, like the definition of an entry frag player, doing as much damage as possible and opening up so many lanes for his teammates. I think he plays the role well. I love Bound on this roster, and I'm still in love with Cloud9.
Very well said. I like that you brought up the point about Eco. He's become a total playmaker at this point. Every time I watch his POV, he's doing something insane. And yeah, I completely agree that Bound is a good fit for this roster, mainly because I feel like he's got a freedom that he didn't have on FaZe, right? With FaZe, you had kind of like conflicting, I want to say, chemistry and paces of play. Like you got to snipe down in a boo-boo that kind of play a little bit slower. Bound, he wants to go wild. He does crazy stuff. He's pushing the movement meta. He's doing, wild like ninjas with grapple, or, thrusting out, challenge with a curb slide. He wants to be able to, I want to say, express himself and have the freedom to play at that insane pace of play. And I think that Cloud9 can create that environment for him. Somebody like Penguin, like you said, so objective-oriented, can kind of create that perfect environment for Bound to do exactly what he wants to do. So ton of potential there. And of course, as both a LAN team and an online team, they maintain their performance, right? First place, both Anaheim and Raleigh. Second place in Kansas City. A bit surprising to see a change at all, considering how dominant they've been, but they made the change. They're still looking good. On to Optic. Optic, I want to say, our online dynasty at the moment, the dominant team online. On LAN, we're still kind of figuring it out. What do you think of Optic, Tony?
Well, number one, I just want to say that I find it, not you, because I never heard you say it, but I find it very disrespectful that a lot of people are calling Optic an online team. I think there's a big difference between saying that a team is an online team and saying a team hasn't yet found that level of success on LAN just yet. They haven't won a championship on LAN just yet. And there's a big difference. Like calling somebody an online kid in competitive esports is downright disrespectful. This squad.
You know why they're doing it though, by the way. Not to just interrupt you. First of all, Optic is held to very high standards, understandably. They got a huge fan base. The reason why is because they are so definitively the best online team, is what it feels like right now. Maybe, between Cloud9, they'll trade blows, but like you look at scrim stats, and this team is insane online. You wonder how they even lose games on LAN. I think that's why the expectation comes in, where they think like, oh, it's only an online team, because of their just sheer dominance online and the juxtaposition of it all. But anyway, hopefully that. I mean,
like I said, I think there's a difference between calling them an online team and saying that they just haven't found that success on LAN yet, because I mean this roster has put together 2 win championships. APG and Trippy is 2 of the most unselfish players that we have in our league with pop-off potential. Formal, phenomenal communicator. Sounds like an auctioneer half the time. I'm ready to bid when he's calling out there in the listens. But it's a shot is solid, man. Let me tell you, steady shot from Formal. Just a good fundamental. Almost reminds me of like a Tim Duncan on like a Spurs back in the day. And then you have Lucid, well, like I said, in my opinion, tied for first place as best in the league. Some might argue me and say that he is number 1 in the league right now. We can have the discussion another time, but I think Optic Game is a roster that's built for championships, and whether it's the Super, whether it's Orlando, whether it's Worlds, I don't think it's a far stretch to say that they are going to win a tournament this year, a major one.
It really does seem like it's becoming like kind of an inevitable kind of reality, assuming they continue at the pace that they're continuing at. So I'm definitely with you on that, Tony. My thought on Formal, I want to say like best centering in the league. If I had to give it like a term, like it's not just his accuracy, it's his approach to aim. And then Lucid, like you said, absolutely disgusting all around. The entire team, they're so clean as a team. Their timing just seems impeccable, and we get to see them more than we get to see anybody else. So I think it's also that there's this, we have the opportunity to kind of scrutinize and just be in awe of their performance. And they don't shy away from it as well. They just go ahead, they stream their POVs, we get to kind of learn from them. But always expect to see them perform. Of course, going back to KC, I think Sentinels is the big, kind of enemy, the big boss for them. I mean, I remember Formal saying I think he got checked by the shock play mid-sword lunge on the bat ledge. He got headshotted by Royal 2 with the shock, right? Sentinels, they show up on land. I think that's the big beast for them to overcome, and there's a lot of kind of storylines there. We'll touch on it, hopefully. But let's move on, Tony. Pioneers next.
Oh, Pioneers.
Keep it going.
Pioneers have had up and down season. They've had
consistent.
They have high.
Actually,
I'm sorry.
So up and down, like you said, but actually they've been 5th, 6 Kansas, 5th, 6 Anaheim, 5th, 6 Raleigh. They have maintained their placement at land exactly, basically the entire their entire season.
Well, they've had high highs.
Sure,
but they've also had low lows. They've beaten teams, and not even just on land, but online. Like
okay.
they've pulled upsets on teams, punching above their weight class. But I feel like they've also had some losses against some really hungry teams that maybe they shouldn't have lost to when you look at some of those open events. So, yeah, I mean, luckily the land events places hasn't changed just yet,
sure.
But I hope that they don't. I don't want to see them drop below top 6. I don't want to see them drop below top 8 because this is a roster that can really contend with some of the best. You're talking about one of the most aggressive rosters that we have, always on the offense, always putting their opponents on their back foot and being as objective efficient as possible. I love Soul Snipe and the objective efficiency that he brings to the table. Taulik, who can sneakily drop a 26-4 with you without it ain't even flashy. It ain't flashy at all. The man just hits his shots. It's like a mini Royal 2.
He just does it.
And then you have Druck on the team, who's kind of an all-around player.
Some of the best
can do it all.
Some of the best movement in the league, I would say, with Druck. That's
very creative.
He is creative.
Very creative with the movement. And then King Nick, who was brought on this roster to bring a level of veteranship, a level of leadership, and hopefully the consistency that they need all around, not just at the 3 major events, but also in online, also in Pro League and the others, because that matters too.
Yeah. I like... So, sorry, go ahead.
Oh. I was gonna say I like this roster on paper. I like what King Nick brings to the table on paper. But I want to see it convert. I want to make sure that they continue to get that top 6 placings during these major tournaments that really matter, where the lights are the brightest. And so far they have, and I'm excited to continue to see that. I'm hoping to see that.
Right, and of course, the perspective for the team is, first place or bust, right? Like, they want to do better than top 6, so hopefully whatever, this changes with Nick kind of cracks the code a bit. I think the biggest thing that you brought up that I think is so great, and I think, did you say it was like a conversation you had with Soul Snipe? You said, what does King Nick bring to the team? And you said veteranship, kind of like a leadership perspective, and I thought that was so interesting because we'll talk about it when we get to E United. King Nick and Ryan Noob. I don't think it's a secret if you kind of watch their scrims. There was a bit of a friction, I think, between King Nick's play style and what Ryan Noob wanted to see from King Nick as a player. And what's interesting, that idea that putting him on this team, King Nick kind of has the opportunity to be in that veteran position. He doesn't have to combat, I guess, with that big brain of Ryan Noob, and that might kind of allow the team to explore, these different avenues or kind of, push past placements that they've kind of been stuck in, like we're saying, 5th, 6th. And that's an interesting storyline, I think, for Manny as well, who's now moved off to the team over to E United, because I think that means that he can also fit perfectly in that roster as well. But we'll talk about it. So Pioneers, a lot of potential, small change, but I like the fact that you talked about the leadership aspect of King Nick that he can bring to the team. Let's move on to G2.
G2, it's funny. I said former reminds me of a Tim Duncan with the fundamentals. Damn it, G2 remind me of the entire Spurs.
Okay,
it's not flashy. They're setup heavy and they play the chess game. But when they get into the defensive setups, it's so hard to break through. One of the reasons why I always love watching the G2 and Pioneers matchup, because you have the ultimate aggression versus the ultimate defense. And that's what G2 kind of bring to the table. Gilkey and Straight Sick have been doing it for so long.
Right.
Sabinator, so underrated as a slayer, as a top 5 underrated slayers that we have. Suspector's there too. We'll talk about him later.
We'll talk about
him. And then the 4th player is most likely Barcode. Barcode officially no longer at ANZ. He's here.
He's here
in America. He's in Texas, living in Texas. So I believe that where there's smoke, there's fire, and I think Barcode's been playing with the G2 boys so much. I'm gonna assume that Barcode is on here, and we may not know much of him in North America, but he's a phenomenal player both inside and outside of the game. Can contend with anybody in the league. Is going to prove it. I can do it in North America, and then on top of that, just has an infectious smile. He
does.
Just
you know what?
Big,
he brings the vibe.
Happy, I'll say even goofy, but in a good way. It's just when you're in the room with Barcode, you can't help but just smile. He's just such a good dude. So I think I honestly. Also, the intangibles he's going to bring, because he's just so good. He's just such a good dude.
Yeah, right. And we got the chance to meet him in Kansas City, and I think just how personable he was, how easy he was to talk to. I think people underestimate how much good vibes brings to the performance of a team, and I feel like that was one thing that on top of his individual skill in comms, Formal brings this great vibe, I think, to Optic, and not that Ola didn't. Ola's a legend, and too bad he's not even in this discussion. Tony, I would love to take a second and just talk about what happened to the Wizard. But Formal, I think immediately you recognize that the team, they just clicked together. The vibes were better. I think maybe Barcode can bring that, though I have witnessed him tilting a little bit as well. As talented as he is, he kind of goes up and down with whether or not his teammates are helping him out in matchmaking. But that's matchmaking, I think, in general. Yeah. One thing I'll say for sure with Barcode is this dude is a freaking demon. He's the real deal. And we're learning as we watch him play. A player coming in from ANZ. ANZ is a smaller scene comparatively. This is him with the snipe, by the way. I had to pull this clip in because the dude is he's cracked as hell with the snipe. He's so quick with the snipe that I just couldn't help but just show a couple clips of the man. But, when you're coming from a smaller scene like ANZ, I think the expectation is that they won't be quite as developed at that top level as an esport, but Barcode is different, man. Something's diffy about him. I was watching twos yesterday with Renegade. It was Renegade and Tusk versus Barcode and Neighbor, and eventually Renegade and Tusk, they kind of snapped into action. They started winning. But the first few games, Barcode and Neighbor were running them over, and Renegade was he was kind of mauling a little bit, just so surprised at how cracked this dude was with the snipe and the plays he was making. So I just I can't wait. I'm a fanboy already. I think Tony is. I can't wait to see what he brings to the team. And then on top of the fact that, like you said, you got the veteranship of Straight Sick, arguably one of the best FFA players of all time. He's been in Halo for so long. I remember him back at the Reach FFA, the BIC championships, right? Gilkey back from Halo 3. Just once again, a very established competitor, very talented, could pop off at any time. And then Sab, like you said, underrated main slayer potential. So G2, great potential there. They also got Ogre 1 as a team manager, which is a cool pickup. And then they got Callus as their coach too. G1 now. Let's move on to the next one, Tony.
We'd be happy to know that Straight Sick can hit snap slides on a dime.
Can he?
He says he's a snap slide king.
Okay, I'll be the judge.
Yeah, watching Gilkey and Straight Sick, man. Let me say, it bring me back in the day while I was stuffing my fat self with pizza and wings and watching the MOG events. I loved watching them. But a G1, I love this organization.
This is. I do love the org, dude. The org, man, they're great. Go ahead. You go ahead, Tony. They're killing.
And just their philosophy, both in game and out, and the intangibles that they want people that they want their players to bring. I think I love it. I truly love it. I'm really a fan of G1, and just going in, getting to work early, working out, getting that team camaraderie in, all before they even sit down and pick up the controller. They're in there putting in the work outside of it. And honestly, people might not think it's a big deal, but I think it is. I truly do.
I think
G1.
People, sorry, just people kind of fail to realize the effect that not just fitness, but just figuring out everything else in your life around the game and the effect that has on the gameplay, right? The key is not necessarily to know life and game 14 hours a day. Sometimes, maybe you should cut into that time and play, 5 to 6 hours, but spend time working on yourself, building up your body, etc. And I think G1 have a great mindset for that. I'm following the Eli the Sensei workout montage that he's been going through, right? The man's been hitting the gym. I think the entirety of G1 definitely they got a good vibe that they bring to Halo.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason why Ace coming off, his first game is the reason he's like the most dangerous player in the league. Like, fresh off of meditation, the iPad, the man is levitating while not even holding his controller at that point, just beating you with telekinetic powers. G1.
I'll take your word for it.
You got Shyway, who I didn't know too much about, but every time I watch his gameplay, I'm always impressed. I've never watched a Shyway gameplay and thought anything negative about it. I just think he plays the game the right way. Swish and Boo Boo Doo, they're cut from the same cloth. You got two high IQ players. You have two players that are not cheating the grind. They are absolute grinders and will put in the work. I love what Boo Boo Doo and Swish bring to the table. I love them together because they really remind me of each other. Like I know Swish personally. I think I know Boo Boo Doo very well. They really are cut from the same cloth. And then, man, I don't. It is a disservice to this, I believe, former serviceman, that we are not talking about Devonator. It is
snuck right back in,
embarrassing.
man. He just snuck right back into the scene.
He did, and he's so freaking good, and it's so funny because anytime you mention G1, you mention Boo Boo Doo, you mention Swish, but Devonator's just flying under the radar and is low key the most dangerous player on the roster. Like like legitimately, the man pops off. Just look at the stats, look at the eyeball test. The man just checks every single category. It's just like I said, the IQ's there, the gameplay's phenomenal. He's always getting kills. The man looks good, smells immaculate, was probably the most popular guy in his high school. He has everything going for him.
All important for competition, clearly.
Absolutely.
Well, I think what people, understandably, but I think what people kind of fail to realize with Dev, though, is he was, at one point, I want to say, a top player in Halo 5, right alongside Contra. He actually teamed with Boo Boo at one point as well in Halo 5. So there is some historical kind of chemistry between Boo Boo and Devonator. Then he just disappeared. And then he just came back, right? I'm not sure if he was grinding in between, but he just, like, the moment he decided to come back into Halo Esports, immediately he's, like, jumping onto G1, onto a team. So I think, like you said, just kind of testament to his ability as a player. I think this is, like, one of the biggest wild card teams, right? Because if you go back in their performance, like, before this team was formed, you've got, like, Raleigh 17-24, 13-16 in Anaheim, 9-12 in KC. They do continue to improve, like, incrementally and just kind of sneak in. But now I think they're a big deal with this roster, especially with Boo Boo jumping in. Very interesting. Squally, I think. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, even without him, they got a top 3 finish during one of the Open Series,
right?
And then with them,
without Boo,
they ended up winning. So I mean, even past, more recent, because I feel like it's been a while since Kansas City. Even more recent, they were still had an upward trajectory. Grab Boo Boo Doo Boo and then fly off the graph.
That's the game plan, exactly. That's what we're waiting to see. It's like you said with Squally, for me, he's kind of a question mark. Definitely a talented player. I'm very curious to see what he puts together. And then Swish, what an interesting storyline as well. Like you said, you knew him on the come up. I sort of did. He's like a friend of a friend, right? Didn't he come up through like the Spartan V Discord or something? We had like a little group. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, Tony. But
the Spartan 5 program.
Spartan 5 program, right? So he's somebody who's been in the weeds, like in the trenches for a while. And made the right connections, kept grinding, found himself subbed onto big teams. Like next thing you know, he's got his in. He's been doing this for a long time, though, right? It's like really cool to see his trajectory, I want to say.
I don't know if he was actually with that program, but I don't know. It could have been, but I remember when I first started hearing him, it was back at the Bama lands when I was playing with the pro shots, Colex and then eventually even Collect. Back then he was going by Zolda. Back then Collect was, and Swish was there as well. And then I got to meet him in person and whatnot. He was the first one I seen play with his controller behind his back in the octagon. It was absolutely hilarious. But yeah. I've known him for a little time. We butt heads a few times. I've even past it. I've coached some of his teams. So we've had an up and down relationship. At the end of the day, I've always had respect for him, and not only his mind for Halo, but also the natural talent that he has.
He has definitely kicked my ass in Halo 5 Octagon as well. Just to add to that, brother, he's an Octagon kid, I think for sure. Yeah, personal experience. Anyway, look out for G1 is what I'll say, right? Bit of a wild card. FaZe. We got to talk about FaZe and United, arguably the biggest teams to talk about here. Tony, let's jump into FaZe.
Why are we talking about FaZe? What do you mean?
Why? Yeah, I wonder why talk about FaZe,
who's
right?
on their team? Tell me who's on their team right now.
Just they're not super well known, Tony. They're not like they're kind of just on the lower end of the spectrum. I want to say in terms of popularity. Snipe Down, Spartan, Renegade, and Falcated. What do you think?
I'm flabbergasted.
Okay,
that's their roster. I'm shocked. I didn't know this.
We only just found out. We didn't know months ago that they were already playing together.
You didn't know months ago. I knew. I knew June 1st. I don't know what you talking about. Look at my YouTube videos. You'll find out. I knew since June.
That's fair. And I mean, shout out to you, Tony. Honestly, if you're not aware, Tony does a copy, basically this, on YouTube in more detail. So if you want like an extended version, Tony's got all the details. He's got like you said, you knew about this for, I want to say, months. Now, it was not a very well-kept secret. They changed their weapon skins. You know, at one point, this is like a week ago, too, Spartan turned his Twitter off as well. He's like in loading phase, 50% or whatever, right? That was pretty cool.
Renegade at the end of his VOD yesterday talked about his journey and why he left Cloud9. I'd recommend some of you guys go and watch it towards the end of his stream. But yeah, it's Renegade, Snipe Down, Spartan, Falcade, and a lot of people are looking at their recent scrim results, and they have not hit the ground running. Yeah. But I talk about it all the time. The only time success comes before work is in the dictionary. You give FaZe time. Give them, time to come up with a game plan and come up with, an A, B, and C. Because again, it's not even just about what happens when you're running over a team. When it rolls downhill, it rolls fast. It's what happens when you go 2 or 3 down. What's your game plan? Are you sending, are you 4-man pushing through your base to try to clear out your flag on Aquarius? Are you sending a 4-man overextension? Are you doing a 2-and-2 dedicated resource? Like when they come up with that game plan at that level and go through it in practice. That's when I'll start judging FaZe. They're new.
Are you worried? Are you worried about chemistry at all? Like, there's no denying that this is just like 4 main slayers put together in a sandwich, basically.
Not in the slightest.
Okay.
I think Renegade and Spartan absolutely incredible together. We saw that in the 2v2. We saw Snipe Down and Falcated work really well together. Snipe Down formerly teaming with Spartan, and Renegade and Snipe Down even team together playing Apex. So I like this roster a lot.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
I think it's great. A lot of people are questioning, oh, they don't have an objective player, they don't have this, that, and the third, they don't have an IGL. First of all, I'll be very clear with this. In 2022 Halo, I don't think there is an objective role. I think there's a player that does a dirty work, but when you have the likes of Spartan, Falcade, and Renegade, we're not talking about slayers that are baiting each other. We're not talking about them sitting across the map and long range. We're talking about players that are in the action. On Aquarius, they're not sitting top mid. They're in utility. They're getting in the face. They're pushing spawns. They're putting pressure. And while they're doing that, the opponents go 3 down, and one of them said, "Hey, you know what? I happen to be near the flag. I'm going to pull the flag."
In a perfect world, every team is completely flexible. They can do all the positions if they need to, just based off the scenario at hand. That said, though, I'll counter you and say, what is Penguin to Cloud9? He is definitely the OBJ player. He's consistent in that, like you said, his flag pulls, his captures, etc. And I think
Renegade's objective play is highly underrated.
Okay, well,
Renegade's objective is highly underrated. And even Snipe Down IQ and the ability that he brings as an IGL, it's completely underrated as well. Like from Halo to Apex, we realized that Snipe Down's been in the game for what, 46 years? I think he's been playing Halo. Maybe going on 45. Doesn't look a day over 43, but maybe going on 45 years.
A day over 43. Okay.
And we're consistently doubting him and the brain that he brings in as he has a brilliant mind. Definitely. And even Apex, the same thing. Like, he's played IGL not for his competitive team, but people doubt him. I'm like, dude, have you not heard him talk about the game? He has a brilliant mind for the game, and he can be an IGL. Sorry, I'm sorry, I went a little long.
No, you're good. You're killing it. It's not just the brilliant mind for the game. Like, when you hear him talk about Halo, what I love is his mentality shift that's happened after KC. He's doubled down on Halo recently. I think he's in a difficult spot, obviously, because he's become so insanely successful at Apex, and he was incredible at Apex. So he has a community who are constantly nagging him to go back to Apex. Like, imagine how annoying that must be to have, like, so many fans be like, just go back to Apex, just go back to, you know what I mean? He's here for the true love of Halo. He's here because he loves Halo, because he knows he can be the best. And he had this
I
moment.
get people to tell me to get out of Halo all the time. They just
to
want
get
me
out.
gone.
Most people, to be honest, that's fair. I'm sure a lot of people are saying get out of Halo, regardless of how successful you are. That said, though, there was a mental shift that I noticed. Like, it was on one of his streams, and he had like one of those like TED Talk moments where he was doubling down on Halo, and I thought that was so sick to see that he was kind of like, not that he hadn't been putting in that full effort in these tournaments up until now, but it definitely seemed like there was a mental shift, and now he's like bringing his A game, and things are going to change, right? So we'll see. Is what I'm saying is just you can never doubt, like you said, the brilliant mind.
They're
right
playing
there
for something to prove. They really are,
right?
And not just Spartan. Not just Snipe Down.
Sure.
All of them.
Sure.
Renegades playing that's something to improve. That he left Cloud9, Snipe Down. He said he's out here doing it for his father, who obviously just recently passed. But I thought that was beautiful. And then Spartan again, doing it with his rivalry against Ryan about United. Sorry, I continue, but it's more than just a game. When you're playing for something that's more than just a game, whoo, that's dangerous, man. Tim taught me that.
I mean, there's a formula there that you're just kind of helping me realize, Tony. That's actually an incredible point. On top of the fact that like you've got all these main slayers, and then you still have Falcated, who not enough people know about, right, Tony? You're talking about how underrated, Renegade's objective play is. You're thinking like, okay, Renegade, Spartan, Snipe Down, they're going to trade out, main Slayer. No, I think Fal is going to end up being the main Slayer. In the end of the day, this dude is he's just a total beast at the game. We got to watch in Esports Arena against Fnatic, and in that series, it was just Falcated highlights the whole way through. So this man is once again unsung hero, insane slaying ability, and we still haven't seen enough of it. And even with a team of main slayers, I still think he might actually be the focal point slayer for the team. So it's just so interesting, like what to expect out of this team, Tony. I think they can all do it all, which is just crazy. Like you said, they're not hitting the ground running yet. We're just going to have to wait and see. Maybe land performance is the key there, but just insane team on paper, and I can't wait. They're going to get the most of the spotlight, I think, coming into the Super and beyond. And then you have E-United, and we cannot sleep on E-United. I was worried about E-United after the loss of Sparty. Sparty understandably brought a ton to the team, but with this new roster, Tony, I have faith again. What do you think?
Yeah, with United, you have Ryan Newman, Rain, the core, great communication, always come in with a game plan, stick to the game plan, and you'll win. Simple as that. That's how they approach every single game, and it's no surprise. I got the chance to play poker against both of them, and let me tell you, man, they're just as ruthless on the poker table as they are on the virtual battlefield.
Yeah.
Manny coming in, and Manny's just untapped potential. He's just untapped potential. Okay. Really is. So he can, his highs, kind of like KCP as a whole, his highs are crazy. When he's on fire, he's just going toe to toe with some of the best in the game. He's the best player of the lot when he's on fire. My only issue with Manny is consistency, because sometimes he has some low lows, but his movement's absolutely great. When he's hitting shots, and I think him under Ryan Noob is great because number one, that's exactly it. He's a team player, and he plays to win, and he has no problem following a game plan, especially if one's going to be put onto the table. And if there's any player that can get the best out of him and make him mature and become the player that he's destined to be, I think it's Rhino. I think Rhino's going to pull that out of him, and I'm really excited. I'm really excited from it. And so his former teammates, like Soul Snipe, is also excited from the play on the United. And then you have Suspector, who I call Falcated the most underrated player in the league. Suspector is definitely a top 5 underrated slayer that we have in our league. He is insane. His movement is cracked out. He stuffs the stat sheet. He is everywhere at the same time, and you have to account for him no matter where he is. And so what I like about this United roster is that although they're not the same players, the blueprint, the formula reminds me of their older United squad. I'm not saying Suspector is Spartan, but I'm saying he's damn good.
He fills the role.
And he definitely exactly. And the same for men. Like King Nick is an aggressive player, a pop-off player, man. When he was waiting for that double kill and then spot the grenade on the ground over towards top A, shot the grenade, gets the triple kill, like plays like that. Like that's Manny. Like that's Manny that does that too. Like he makes game-changing plays and turning point plays. This United formula reminds me a lot of before. Now, are you looking for them to consistently get top 4?
I don't know.
That's where I hope so, but I'm not sure. I think this squad is definitely not falling off the top 8, and I think they can contend for top 6 and top 4. But if you're looking at second place in Raleigh, third place in Anaheim, and fourth place at Kansas City, I'm not sure if I'm not sure if that happens right off the rip. Super, Orlando, and Worlds. Maybe it does. Maybe it doesn't.
Right. I think the biggest thing is the opportunity that this team has to build. To become a top team, I think is bigger than what kind of fell apart with E United with their original roster. So I think the big kind of storyline with E United is they were an incredible team out the gate. Second place Raleigh, right? Third place Anaheim, fourth place Kansas City. So a slow decline was kind of their storyline, and that decline came from like an inner turmoil, I guess, in the team. A couple butting heads. You've got the IGL veteranship of Ryan Noob, and then the veteranship of Spartan, who have history. It's interesting. Going back with Ryan and Spartan, because I remember them on the main stage, Halo 5, like shouting at each other, and then they end up on the same team together, and then they're back to, apparently the shenanigans have started once again. Tony, you linked me a tweet from like this morning or something.
Yeah. So apparently during 8s, from what I heard, Ryan Noob was teabagging Spartan quite a bit.
Okay.
And so Spartan, he just quickly fires back. Nothing crazy. I'm gonna read it in his own words. That's all I'm gonna say. He says
it's a Twitter post, isn't it? Yeah.
It's a Twitter post. He says, I don't know why Ryan Noob is so obsessed with me, but I'll take it as a compliment, considering he wouldn't have a job right now if it wasn't for me. You're welcome, buddy.
Oh man. So, you know what?
Wow.
I'm all for drama, by all means. If this is how it's going to go, then go ahead. And you got to love Sparty for the fact that he's just no holds barred. He'll take to Twitter, he'll post the tweet, man. He'll go for it, and with Tony, we just roll from there and get to, I guess, enjoy it as viewers. But it gives us a storyline, I think, coming into NA Super, that's for sure. But it also kind of just comes back into the point of, like I said, inner turmoil, right? Something was not going well, despite the fact that they were playing well together, still getting third place, still getting fourth place, but they were clashing. And King Nick, I think, was part of that as well. Like you said, is Ryan Noob. More so just the play styles were different. King Nick, very explosive player, but not always listening to kind of the game plan. I want to say Ryan Noob's kind of like a mastermind in how he approaches, Halo with his team. The beauty of these two new players is how moldable they are, right? Like you said about Manny, he can explode. He's fast-paced like King Nick, but he's a team player. As far as I know, he's a good listener. He can, kind of fit into the game plan. And then Suspector brings the slaying ability that Spartan, that's removed from the team now. Because of Spartan's absence. And at the same time, he's a young gun as well. There's also the storyline of like Suspector, of course, he comes from as a duo with Kratos, right? We've never really seen him not play with Kratos. Very interesting to, if anything, you'd think that it would be a comfortable switch, right? Because Kratos is a big personality in himself, right? I'm sure he brings a lot of, an IGL perspective, and I would only assume that it's kind of like a natural kind of shift over for him, but maybe he gets even more freedom this time. There's a big question mark, I think, here for Suspector on how he performs not duoed with Kratos, and we've been wondering this for a long time, right? Like you
he's
said,
fired a shot at Kratos, by the way, too.
Okay, send me the Kratos Suspector drama. What do we got?
Because Kratos was tweeting a little bit and whatnot. He was putting out some matchmaking stats, and he was putting out some craziness, and with some of the
like
other tweets.
I made you moment.
He was having fun. Yeah, exactly. He was having some fun. Was Kratos, and eventually Suspector tweeted out. And it was so funny. I don't have it in front of me right now, but he tweets out, he said, my ex has been going crazy on Twitter lately. I hope they find peace. And you're over here thinking he's talking about like an ex-girlfriend.
Yeah, maybe
and
not.
then when you read between the lines, he was talking about Kratos. And I love Kratos. He's a tier 1 trash talker, and I love it. But that was a nice little clap back by Suspector. I ain't gonna lie. That was smooth.
And it is kind of like a relationship in a sense, though. Like, they've had some great performances together. You go back into early Halo 5, second place World Championship 2016. Halo 5 is a hell of a performance to kind of start as a duo. So there was a long-standing relationship over time. The competitive community is like, holy crap, Suspector's insane at the game. I'm sure top teams are trying to poach him, but they don't split. Now they've split. What is this man's potential? We're going to find out on E United. I think is the answer there.
I was just gonna say, I think we're running a little low on time. Do you want me to rapid? Do you want me to just rapid fire the last 4 teams, or what? Or do you want to take our time?
We did well, honestly. The fact that we got through 8, Tony, in the 48 minutes here is that, like, congrats. We freaking did it. So, yeah, let's go through the 4 that are still qualified, and then we'll do a quick run through LVT.
I'm gonna rapid fire all 4 of them real quick.
Let's do it.
We'll change the format a little bit because I know we're running low on time here. And I think we still have a Q&A on the schedule too. So yeah.
Start asking questions. Hopefully ESA can grab a couple questions, and we'll do our best.
Yeah, the complexity roster, almost like a little bit of half complexity, half luminosity. Monster and Vetra, the winner of the Raleigh FFA, have come together. Since Monster joined complexity, that team has found greatness ever since, but then a little bit of a low. Now bringing in Neuronical and Psycho. Neuronical, former teammate of Vetra, longtime teammate of Psycho back in Halo 5. Complexity are absolutely deadly. I love this squad. They play fast, they play right, and they qualified for this tournament through the winners bracket despite having the likes of Fnatic, SSG, Crowd Pleasers, Envoy, and Tony's team. There was a bunch of teams, and Complexity made it through the winners bracket.
Right.
Joining them in the winners bracket was Oxygen Esports, Triton, formerly of Complexity, Nemesis, and Bohm. Bohm, formerly of ESA Red. Nemesis and Bohm coming over from Built by Gamers. Common, the only common denominator, common player from this Oxygen Esports roster, which once featured Swish as well. Fnatic, you have bringing in Rami over Envoy. Envoy was dropped for this roster, bringing in Rami to try to fit their playstyle a little bit more. Jazero was at one point dropped for like 2 weeks, then came back with like a new, like it came back slaying like crazy. 75 absolute Slayer
with a point to prove,
Super CC having ability to stay alive, and then you have Lions, who is going by Anime Demons. Burton, your fellow Canadian, he was formerly of Status Quo. Parzelli was a part of that Red Wolves roster that upsetted Oxygen Esports at one point in Kansas City to make it to pro bracket.
And was it Navi as well? They beat Navi as well. I think Red Wolves.
A good squad. Mortally has IGL capability and go toe-to-toe with some of the best in the business. And then Hotshot Ghost, who I absolutely have found a newfound respect for. The man literally is the brain of a veteran in the heart of a top amateur, and he is destined for greatness in this league. T-Squared's big on him too, by the way. They had a little stint together. Those are the 4 teams that are in pool play coming from the qualifier. Alex, I'll let you. I'll leave the floor to you to take over from there.
You're good. You're killing it, man. Just a little note to add. Lions is the team that upset SSG, by the way. At the end of last weekend,
Game 5.
We had Game 5, grand finals, by the way. It was down to the freaking wire. It was like 50-47 or something to close. Collect hit the most insane ninja off the vending machine in like the purple street as I can't remember, somebody was clambering up and he just hit a crazy ninja. Either way, they didn't win. They got upset by this Lions team. So Burton, Parzelli, Hotshot, Mortally, punching through that kind of weight class, and I think a lot of potential with this team. So if you're sleeping on them, you might want to stop. I think they could definitely come up, and I don't think Lions is an org, right? Out of everyone that's qualified, Lions is the only team that is not represented by an org that's currently qualified for the Super. So that is a big deal right there. Keep that in mind. And then we have one more graphic, right? And this is for this weekend, actually. This weekend, Tony and I will be casting twitch.tv/LouisVTitan. We have our the open series starts, and we find out the final 4 teams who will jump into pools by the end of this tournament. So SSG, despite not winning last week, they still have a shot this weekend. And I think we have a graphic for that too. Hopefully we can throw that up if we get it. And that shows some of the other tournaments, I think, with potential to jump in this weekend as well, Tony, right? Any thoughts on kind of SSG before we just jump into some Q&A?
Yeah, I was huge on SSG. I thought this was a roster that was going to be contending for, kind of similar to where G1 is right now. Walking into any building top 12, contending for top 8, and legitimately coming in and trying to make, top 6 and maybe top 4 is a super stretch goal. That's why I thought SSG were. Yeah. There's obviously been some locker room situation that was going in there. I'm not sure if they've gotten past that since, but they need to figure out whatever's going on, because that team is way too talented to not be achieving greatness. But yeah, and by the way, even next week's show or next show that we do, we can even talk about a lot more of these teams too. I know we try to get through a lot of information as fast as possible. I think we did a really good job.
I agree.
But there's some stuff that I didn't get the chance to talk about that I wish we had more time for. I do want to do the Q&A because We love the people.
Damn right. And note that Tony and I, we don't want to just talk shop. We want to get pro player interviews on the show as well. So if you're watching this, you're a pro player and you're interested in jumping into a discussion like this, like we can grab you maybe for 15 minutes or something and pick your brain.
I'll be sliding into some DMs.
A little bit.
I'll be sliding into some DMs.
Into DM. Tony's the best at that, honestly. Everybody loves Tony. So don't be frightened if he jumps into your DMs looking for an interview. We want to get everybody on this show if we can. In the meantime, like you said, we've got a tiny bit of time. We got, 7 minutes? Ask stuff or in the chat, I guess now, or maybe the
we got questions already. I'll shoot off some questions for you. This first one's for you, Shyway. What is your favorite color?
I don't know. Either red or blue. I like the confidence of red, but I think I'm more of a blue guy. But I wish I'm blue. Let's go blue. What about you, Tony?
I didn't get asked the questions. I'm going to move on to the next one. do you think that? So the next one is dark green. This might be for both of us. This might be for the both of us. I know because we have a bunch of questions I'm trying to get through. Okay. This one's good. Do you think the S7 should be reworked? Rewatching H5 clips reminds me of how much tougher the sniper is to use in this Halo, and makes me wonder if we will ever have some true pop-off clips with the S7 Infinite. So to double back, do you think the S7 should be reworked? He
threw me for a loop for a second when he said the H5 clips remind me of how much tougher the sniper was, like as if he's saying the H5 was way harder. Tony, you go first.
No. I think the sniper was harder to use in this game, but now I'm seeing the clips that people are starting to get right now, and they figured it out. I think the sniper is fantastic. I also say the shock rifle was really fun as well, and that kind of reminds me a little bit more of like how the sniper was H5, because you could be a little bit more aggressive with it, with its extra, with its hip fire potential. But I will say I love the way it is right now, and seeing the players adapt to it so quickly and become absolutely demons with it. Trust me, we're seeing plenty of no scopes. It's crazy.
I will say there's no shortage of sniper clips, but if they were to tweak anything in the snipe, it would be the bloom. Just get rid of the not even just the bloom, the random inaccuracy in the no scope in the sniper is the only actual issue I think with the sniper. Like, I don't even mind the bloom because you can YY to cancel the bloom out, but even if you do, it's not perfectly accurate. And I think that is not ideal. Shock is arguably too strong, but I like it the way it is, Tony. But the pros, I know they're conflicted. 90 says, which team in the AM bracket do you see causing upsets to the higher seeded teams? Tony, you be the expert here.
I mean, the thing is, no matter what matchup SSG come in, I don't think they're really I think they're the favorites no matter what. So I don't know if I consider that an upset if they come in, and make it into the qualifier. But, give me SSG, give me crowd pleasers, give me, which was Kratos, Piggy, Mines, and King J was their roster, 2 players from Built by Gamers. And give me the Breach. The Breach showed that's 3/4 of that EMGG roster, formerly Esports Arena Blue. They showed us how deadly they can be in in Kansas City, making its open bracket. I think they can get like top 12, maybe top 16. I could be off on that a little bit, but either way, they've already pulled off some crazy upsets. Give me those 3. And whatever team Envoy and Tony end up, because Envoy and Tony are a nasty duo. Whatever they end up on, give me them.
What was their team? Was like Envoy, Tony, and I think Carmea and someone else.
Maybe Shock, maybe Alex Shock.
Oh, it was Shock. It was Shock. They didn't make it into the graphic. I'll say they're the team to upset.
Well, they didn't make it to top 8. They literally they
didn't make it exactly. They didn't make it top 8.
It was top 4 made it through.
Yep.
Top 6 were 1 round away from making it through. Top 8 were 2 rounds making it through, and they got upset a little earlier than expected. Let's be honest, a lot earlier than expected.
There's a lot of just dominant teams at this point, though, Tony. But yeah, they did get upset, so maybe they'll come back with a force this weekend.
Maybe one more quick question, if you see one.
I do see a couple. I see. Actual question: does this phase roster win at all? I'm on yes. Landlords asked, do they win, Tony? Or do you think they'll win? I guess.
You have the Super, Orlando, and Worlds, 3 tournaments. I think they're top 4 walking no matter what, contending for top 3 and a legitimate contender for first place. But I have too much respect right now for Sentinels, Optic, and Cloud9 to guarantee they get a big win in 3 tournaments. I think the Super might not be the best performance from them. I think they have an amazing performance at Orlando, even maybe making it to second place, and I think they'll get top 3 at Worlds. Sentinels, Optic, even Cloud9, they've been together for they've been together for so long.
Yep.
it's tough for me to say they win a tournament in the next 3. Do they win one eventually? Absolutely. Season 2? Oh, hell yeah. Absolutely.
If they stick together, right? Roster Mania is probably going to happen all over again by the end of the year, knowing how this game tends to work. But I agree. That's a very fair answer, right? Scrims do not suggest that they are at the top in the moment, but they've got time to figure it out. Maybe the Super can be a start to that. Orlando, they're definitely a shoe-in, maybe by Worlds, who knows? But once again, the top 3 are pretty cemented at the moment, so we'll see. Any tips on the beer game from the GOATs is the question by Besser. Tony, you got any tips?
We'll definitely with the last question because now we're really
sure.
running out of time. Beard oil, beard palm, and a nice wash. And I would say get a scented one. Pay a little bit extra. Like I use a vanilla based one.
Oh, wow.
For the which by the way, I need a giant haircut right now, so I don't look like it. I use a vanilla scented palm and a vanilla scented oil. And so it smells really good. And then sometimes what I'll do is I'll do my beard and I'll even like slick it back in my hair a little bit just to get that smell. Like this smells really good.
Just vanilla all over is what you're saying. Sounds lovely, Tony. I actually don't do much. I have a beard oil and I have a wax, and I use that basically every time I go on broadcast. There is an oil, there's a wax in here. I wash it maybe like once a week with like a beard wash. I don't honestly do much.
Once a week?
Yeah, pretty much. Like it's mostly just how you shave it, man. Get the neck line and get the face. Like we all have different facial hair. Figure out a way to shave it that looks good would be my key. I've spent years just trial and error, just trying to find something. My chin is here, by the way. Like this is fake. Like my face goes like that.
I'm too afraid because I don't got a steady hand. I might mess it up. I might mess it up. I don't like to. I don't like to line myself up.
I messed it up a lot until I finally got it. And then I just kind of maintain. At this point.
Strats.
Anyway, sorry. You good?
No, I said strats. You have the strats.
Strats, exactly. We've got strats. And speaking of strats, that is it for the show. We've got a tournament coming up that you guys better stick around and watch. We've got the GOAT, Wes Clutch, who, by the way, Clutch is in the chat right now. Tony, he says that Tony has, I think you had 12 teams in the top 6 is what he said. He's got 12 teams in the top 6 right now.
That is not true. Listen, I said G1 and SSG should be top 12 walking in, contending for top 8, for top 6, and then a stretch goal of top 4. That's Clutch's problem. He don't listen. The team tells him to play the ball. The man doesn't do it. If you listen, maybe you would have won that. Maybe you would have won another championship.
The beautiful thing is you guys can fight it out all you want. I'm going to get off the broadcast. That's it for me. But thank you guys so much for tuning in. This is our first episode of the YNOT and Shyway show. Interesting that we're calling it YNOT and Shyway because you're Tony. Everybody calls you Tony. Tony, I'm thinking you might just need to rebrand. I don't know. I've never heard in my life anybody call you YNOT before.
Well, why not just Tony spelled backwards?
I know it's Tony. By the way, if you didn't know that, that's actually some people have come into my comments and said like, "Oh my God, I just realized that YNOT is Tony spelled backwards." I love you either way, whatever you decide to do with your name. Great first episode. We got through it all in an hour. Love to see it. That's it for now. Enjoy the tournament. I'll see you guys, I guess, next Esports Arena. I jump in. Bye. I don't know. Forget.
It's Friday, everybody, and you know what that means. It's time to close out the week with some Series E Halo Infinite. My name is Jay, so excited to be back to close out another awesome week here as we are at the end of Intel Week. It's been a fun run here, and plenty more here after this week as the seasons continue but we're ready for some Halo Infinite. Excited to be here with you all. I hope you enjoyed the YNOT and Shyway show. By the way, of course, I am very much a big fan of those two gentlemen. They always have a lot of interesting insight and analysis in the Halo scene, and the fact that now we get this opportunity to have them sit down before Halo on Fridays to talk shop, to look at everything that's going on in the pro scene is so very cool. So awesome to get to listen to them before, and a nice little appetizer for today's show. Real fast before we jump into the action, just to break down how things work, I want to tell you a little bit about Series E. Series E is a professional esports open circuit that absolutely anyone can join across multiple different titles. We've got Guilty Gear Strive, Apex Legends, and of course, Halo Infinite. Now, the way it works is our players and teams, they come out and they compete in our open qualifiers. The best of the best make it into Series E. Now, what does that mean for them? Well, players will sign a contract, they get a monthly salary, they get signed by one of our partner brands, and they get to compete weekly for points and prize money. In Halo Infinite, it's every Monday night in an open bracket, and then every Friday they compete against incredible pro teams invited here for an exhibition tournament. Now, if you and your friends want to get in on the fun, head over to matcharena.com/ESA, where you can use exclamation point sign up in Twitch chat right now. And if you have any further questions on how to become a future Series E Pro, head over to esportsarena.com. Let's not waste any time, though. YNOT and Clutch are on the call today. They're ready for our first game, and I'll have a special guest analyst joining me here in between to break it all down for you all. But let's go and kick off another night here of Series E Halo Infinite.
It's good to be back. Hello and welcome back to Esports Arena, your regularly scheduled program. I'm excited for the competition we got coming up here. I'm Shyway. Again, great to have my man Tony.
We have some great action today.
16 is his KD right now. So we do
some
see
information on that player. Finally finds him hiding in the corner, ends up getting the double melee. Luckily, JK putting his body on the line. Gold Star
Resources 37 and counting, make it 38. It just seems like they're in their heads.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another Series E Pro night where we see some of the best go at it in a winner takes all style single elimination. It's do or die, one of my favorite formats on Why Not Be Reckless, aka Why Not Be Cast, and I'm kind of a freaking big deal. If you don't know, now you know. And then I have Clutch, who, he's kind of I tell him something, Wes.
I need you, Tony, to throw in the Why Not Be Sleeping into your rant there. But we'll get that AKA Why Not Be Sleeping in there. If you haven't seen the photos of Tony sleeping, don't worry. Follow me on Twitter. You'll see him large and in charge at least a few times a week. I find a way to respond. But honestly, Tony, in a serious note, I'm stoked to get an ESA tournament underway. I feel like it has been so damn long since I have been in an ESA environment, and I've missed it. It's one thing. I've been hopping around the HCS cast, from region to region doing that thing. I miss North American Halo. I miss the amateur scene. I miss having such good knowledge of who's on the come up, who's that team to watch. And I feel like this environment right here, these are the tournaments where you actually learn a lot about those top 16, top 12 players. And Tony, I spent an entire year there, almost two, towards the start of my career, building myself. And you can kind of see storylines like that start to build, and you can see the individual talent from these guys, so you always have to be paying attention to this area.
Yeah, this is where dreams are made. This is where you get your start. This is where you get your name out there. We know about the the optics and the Sentinels, but players get their name and get their start in grassroots tournament like this. $500 on the line, winner takes all, best of 5, and like I said before, it's do or die. Single elimination, go big or simply go home. Everybody knowing what's on the line here. And if we have the rosters, I would love to throw those on screen because I want to let everybody know what's going on. ESA Blue, ESA Red, like you've seen them. Nexi, two nice Paradigm and Ampium. Pac Mandela, recently bringing on Cabe, who he's been carrying me a matchmaking a few times. Reverbed and Alleluia. Joining them today is going to be the Pioneers with a little bit of a change. Druk, Soul Snipe, King Nick, and then instead of Taulik, we have JK. And then for our complexity roster, we have Monster, Vetra, Neuronical, and Cycle. What's jumping out on the screen to you, Wes?
There's just a lot of dynamics going on when you talk about these four teams involved here today, right? If you're on the side of Pioneers, you're the favorite coming in. You want to take care of business. You're doing this for potentially the cash reasons, but more importantly, just getting some reps in. I know they don't have King Nick with them today, but JK is going to be a solid sub. He's going to have an opportunity as an individual to show, hey, if I'm playing with the top team, I may be able to shine even the brightest of lights on that top team. The Pioneers are going to give him that platform here today. Complexity, you know, they're trying to get as many reps going into the Super next week as they possibly can. So this is a great opportunity for those guys, continue their grind. And if you're on the side of ESA Red or ESA Blue, those are those top 16, top 24 teams where in my head, I'm like, there's talent on these teams that if these guys continue on the path that they're on, if they continue to grind, I'm talking 8, 12 hours a day, and a year from now, we could be seeing them on a team like Pioneers, on a team like FaZe. Like, that's how the journey goes. You got to start making yourself a name, and these are some very crucial reps that they're going to have an opportunity to have today.
You can never cheat the grind, and win or lose. You know, you have a minimum of 3 games that you can go back, rewatch and film, find out what those weaknesses are, address them, maybe even turn them into strengths, and progress within both your individual careers or as a team together, because who knows, they stay together like the Pioneers long enough and maybe you become a dynasty in its own, starting from the bottom, and look where they are now. I'm really excited to watch Complexity. I think Pioneers are interesting, but with JK coming instead of Talik, I love JK, but I think Talik is one of my favorite, one of my most underrated players that we have in our league, and I wonder how that team is going to function without him today.
That's a long list of underrated players. I mean, it is almost 64 players deep at this point. We're gonna have to start calling you out, Tony. Everyone's an under. And then I love what you did with the Suspector thing on the video. I might be the only one that caught it. You started switching it up a little bit where you're like, he's an underrated Slayer. He's top 5 underrated Slayers.
Exactly.
So now you're
listening.
He's a top 5 point man that's underrated.
He's a top 5 underrated Slayer. Now Talik is a top 5 underrated Slayer as well. So I'm saying there's a lot of underrated players that we have in our league, and I think Talik's one of them.
You know what you remind me of? And I'm not going to put you on blast for too long, but I'm going to get it out of the way early because we haven't talked to each other in so long. I listen to a lot of fantasy football podcasts and like try and study up and do my homework there because I like to make my cash when my friends group comes along. You remind me of one of the podcasts I listen to. They call out like eventually after maybe a month or so straight every day they make a podcast and they talk about underrated players, sweepers, deep sleepers, and by the end of it, if you were to write every single name down that they hype up, you just have the entire list. And at some point, we got to start making decisions as to who are these next up-and-comers, because the viewers, they want to know. You want to have a chance to call it. We'll see some talent here on stage, and we'll see who's actually performing at that highest level. But I do think the world of a player like Suspector, I do think he's got a great opportunity. Sorry. And I think that we're going to continue to narrow down these lists, Tony. I'm going to force you to do it one name at a time.
Well, you know what? You got to call me out. So someone got to call me out of my BS, and I'm happy that you're here to do it. Game number 1, ain't no BS here. We got the real deal on screen. This is Esports Arena Blue going up against Complexity. Again, Cabe, Tyus, Reverb, Alleluia, and Pac Mandela. And I love this Complexity roster. It's half Complexity, half Luminosity, and they play fast, they play efficient, and within 35 seconds we see a flag being pulled and about to be captured for Team Complexity.
A lot of talent on this Complexity roster, right? And viewers at home, just take a note. Complexity, yeah, the graphics just switched for you up top, so they're going to be correct this time around. Already a cap on the board. It's under a minute. Complexity, what they're known for, young guns with a lot of individual skill. They like to play fast. Already you're seeing that fast gameplay here in the objective.
On board now with Vetra, bringing that flag towards the P side. So car side, P side, it don't matter. Complexity are absolutely running things. Half of the team of ESA Blue are on black screen, and that flag is now being relayed forward. There is 2 players that have made it toward the P side. They will be addressed. Vetra puts in the shots, gonna try to stay alive, and with him going down, that's gonna slow down Complexity. No, it won't. No, it won't.
That's Monster. He's a fiend online. That's what they say. Finding himself a double as he drops the flag. That was phenomenal by Monster. 6-0-1 just kicked this one off. And I'm looking at Chance. That's Monster, ladies and gentlemen. When he goes to this Super, I know it's an online tournament, but how does he perform? Because he has been playing so well pretty consistently for the past couple months. He's showing you just as well as he can play. 7-0-2 to kick this one off.
Neronico making his way towards the car side, another member of this Complexity roster, formerly of Esports Arena Red. And now he's making his presence known on Complexity, one of the biggest and one of my favorite orgs that we have, the long list of 64 orgs, as he trades out, ends up going down, switching to Cabe clearing out the utilities side and now trying to get into his opponents. We're finally seeing some offense being shown by the boys in blue.
Yeah, now if you're on this side of ESA Blue, you just got to slow the game down. It's got to find your footing, the pace. It's too quick right now. Complexity has been pedal to the metal since this one kicked off, and 2 caps, it's not an insurmountable lead, but you got to get control of the map. You got to be able to dictate some of that pace, maybe have an advantage in the damage category at some point, because all of these fights are man down. They're all on your back feet. And already, I mean, Neronico, as the kill comes through, although they don't have numbers, they're going to get a flag pull. And if he's not taken down quickly, they're going to be able to respawn and impact the rest of this run. And look at Neronico doing a phenomenal job just dropping the flag, slaying, allow Cycle to get a touch on it. And now the respawners from Complexity are going to impact this flag run, Tony.
Love that you point out that Complexity didn't have the numbers during the start of this flag. He drops it, puts in the work. Eventually they find the numbers, and eventually they find the flag because of it. So the early pulls turns into a high IQ play to slow it down, secure your victories, and then push that flag in. Fundamental by Complexity, as Cycle going to pick up a heat wave quickly, get that top mid-control monster off the screen, taking down Cabe. And now they have to deal with Cycle. They have to get him off of his top mid position, but he refuses to go down.
And another flag on the move, just like that. 2 dead for USA Blue. That flag, it's already across halfway. It's unscathed, Tony. They don't have any damage into the carrier. Hopping on board with Veteran now, and you know he's hit some slides on the way. He's going to punch this one in. 4-0, 8 minutes on the clock. You bet Complexity wants to put this 5th one in. Just a matter of when. And Tony, a big thing for me right now as we're watching these 2 teams combat is these flags, they're getting across halfway uncontested, right? And that's a problem, especially on a small map like Aquarius with the movement you have in Infinite. These flag runs, how long it takes to return the flag, it's too much to ask for some of these teams. They gotta be able to deny the flag before it gets to that mark. And just like that, another flag across halfway. Tony, I can guarantee this game's almost over.
Yeah, at this point, the 5th and final flag is about to be pushed in. Cycle is getting a bit of contesting from the mid side, but it's not going to slow him down for long. A 5-0 sweep coming in out of Complexity. That's how you start off a tournament.
That's how you kick off a tournament. That's how you put the Pioneers on notice. You best believe that they're watching this series, knowing that they'll probably be going up against Complexity later on. Maybe you're hoping not to see Aquarius CTF in that series, because that was a dominant performance from Complexity. Complexity has looked good online in their scrims. They're going to be a solid team, a tough team, especially in their environment to try and take down. And Pioneers going to have to bring their A game from the looks of it. On the side of ESA Blue, that game was quick. And there's not much you can take as far as positives to walk away. But on a higher note, you got a Street Slayer in front of you. Win this break, get some of the power weapons. I'm talking Bulldog rocket launchers in the middle. If you can get that, get off to an early lead, you can tie this series up and forget all about what happened just moments ago.
Yeah, Slayer definitely takes a different type of skill set to win, and lots of times you'll see teams punching above their weight class end up pulling out big wins, pulling out upset wins, and maybe ESA Blue can be one of those. Streets Slayer, like you said, ran around that Bulldog, ran around the Rockets. Like, if you can control the sandbox on Streets, especially with with how small it is and the way you can influence those spawns, you can really start to snowball from there. So, like you said, grab that Bulldog, grab the power weapons. I love getting me a thrust. Put your opponent on skates, especially with combinations with weapons like the Stalker or that shotgun, and you can really make things happen.
Yeah, I can't stress how crucial the start to this next game 2 is going to be for ESA Blue if they want to extend this series past 3, because the Slayer, it's typically where we see the underdog have more success in Halo, especially throughout the best of 5 series format. But for what we saw in game 1, if you want to take anything away from it, Tony, it's that Complexity is willing to play at a pace that is much faster than ESA Blue is comfortable with stopping. If Complexity are able to win this opening break, Streets is the kind of map. It's small. You can traverse it very quickly. You can flip spawns. You can split spawn an enemy team. And if Complexity can repro that kind of a strategy, it could be a very quick game 2 as well for ESA Blue.
I'm really excited to watch this Complexity roster. You know, they've been through ups and downs. You know, I remember like the moment, like it was like almost the moment after Anaheim, they pick up Monster and they start going off for a bit. They were flying high and absolutely dominating. And I wasn't a big fan of that roster to begin with, but they taught me quick that they were dangerous. Since then, Triton ends up leaving. They end up going through a couple of changes, and now they steal Neuronical and Cycle from that Luminosity roster to join them, and now they're kind of back on an upward trajectory. How do you feel about this new Complexity roster versus their old one, especially because I'm sure you've had your battles with Hysteria, another former teammate of Complexity?
I had plenty of battles with Hysteria, and unfortunately Hysteria got the better of me more than I got the better of him, which not a lot of people can say. So he was definitely one of the players I hated seeing against the stage, right? He was always so consistently dominant. There's no other word for it. I think I had the utmost respect for Hysteria as a Spartan in the server. Maybe a little disrespectful of a person at the time, but I've had my own disrespectful moments, so I'll be nice. That being said, I think Infinite was a little bit faster of a game than what Hysteria's kind of playstyle was natural to. That Complexity roster was having a ton of success online in scrims and tournaments. They were doing it all. I was kind of shocked to see them make some team changes, to see Triton leave, to see Hysteria go in a different direction, to see the Monster and who was it, Vetra at the time, kind of stay together. And that was something I was like, well, this Complexity team was one of the few teams I thought could break into the top 8, into the top like 6, that they were hot. And for them to make team changes, it's been interesting to watch, but it does look like they still are reaching that same level of performance and ceiling with the new additions. And that's a compliment to the new additions. It's also a massive compliment to the 2 guys that stuck around and found a way to create a reproduction of the similar success. The big thing for me that we won't learn about until Orlando about this Complexity roster is, can they do it at an event when the lights are on, when the pressure's the greatest, when there's a crowd in front of you? There's a lot of factors there, right? Online's one of them with the ping difference. I'd like to check that one off and go with the other factors that you can kind of control and adjust to a little bit more individually, I would say. And that's something that Complexity is going to have to learn. They don't have a lot of experience under the belt when it comes to live competition, from my understanding. So for these guys, they need to cherish the moments that they have, but they need to take advantage of the opportunities that they get as well.
ESA Blue, a bunch of young guns. You know, Pac Mandela been doing it for a little bit. I'm just hearing about Reverb and Cabe recently, and Alleluia is a longtime teammate of Pac Mandela, but still fairly, you know, I just started hearing about Halo 5. You're playing against a squad like Complexity. It must be running through your head that they are the favorites in this matchup. So obviously you've played, you know, at an amateur level, at a pro level, and even coached at a professional level. What are you telling this team? You're down 0-1. What are you telling this team to come back in the Slayer streets and maybe turn around the series, knowing that you are the underdogs?
Listen, if I'm ESA Blue, I come into these tournaments and I see Complexity, I see Pioneers. I see this as a great opportunity to get some games against a great team. And that's how you have to treat it. You cannot be all caught up in the tournament format and the structure of, we need to win this $500, right? It's bigger than that. Your careers are still just getting started. They're still just underway. You need to focus on improving. What are we doing wrong? What can we learn from the games that we're playing these great teams in? Because I bet every day they're not able to scrim against teams like this left and right, Monday through Friday, right? So it's a very big opportunity for them to just learn the pace of the game at the highest level and hopefully adapt to it.
Well, we're going to see if ESA Blue can adapt to this series right now, down 0-1, and it was a dominant win in favor of Complexity, but only down by 2 kills, able to keep things close, but not close enough to stay alive. 2 members of ESA Blue end up going down. Neuronical putting the shot into the body, reverbed, getting vibrated right off the map.
Not the worst start. 8-6 for ESA Blue. That's a good sign for them, right? 8-7 now. Got a couple of the weapons out of the way. Complexity hasn't been able to push the pace, and just like that, for a moment, 3 dead for Complexity. ESA Blue. We said it coming into the game. We say it all the time, Tony. The underdogs in series, the Slayers are must wins. If you want a competitive game, it'll most likely be the Slayer. That's what we're seeing, at least at the start of this one.
Pulse Carbine comes in, gets the shot off, can't quite get the melee, and that's a clean sweep going in favor of Complexity. Not only are they able to find the kills, but now they're working on the spawners. It looks like ESA Blue trapped towards that PD side. That's not what you want to see, because Complexity are now starting to surround and starting to pinch them over towards the A side.
Yeah, this is where it could get ugly. Here comes the trap. They can't get out of PD and locked up in prison like T2 used to be. They go down. 6 kills unanswered on the side of Complexity, and 18 to 12 as rockets are coming up. This is where it could get ugly, Tony, especially if ESA Blue are not able to create some space quickly.
Things going from bad to worse as they just had the rockets, but not for long. The Slays once again going in favor of Complexity. We're seeing the Ronicle looking for the final 2 players. That rocket is going to get value in putting 1-to-1 shot. I believe the second one got damaged as well. And now the B side being heavily pushed by Complexity. Not able to find the kill though. Where's the... I don't know if he got a rocket jam or something. Where did the fire come off ESA Blue? This might be the turning point they were looking for.
He expected the BR shot to take that player down. Unfortunately, it wasn't quite the headshot that you needed in order to take that player down. And Veteran just jumping the gun a little bit in more ways than one. And because of it, cost him his life. It allows ESA Blue a little bit of an opportunity there to release some pressure, Tony. And although they've gone 3 down since, things like that can help you stay in the game. It releases so much of the pressure that would have been on your team if Vetra is able to get 1 kill, rocket a second player. It stalls that moment, and because it stalls that moment, it's still just a 5-kill game.
The Ronicle currently 10-2 right now. Make that 11 as he takes down 1. Dominating. The cleanup is going to come in, but Alleluia, the final player alive for ESA Blue, so he's going to try to slow things down, wait for his teammates to come off a spawn. They only have 6 kills to play with at the moment, and as I say that, Monster already finding the initial pick that they need. So now with that, Complexity going to take those numbers and just get aggressive. You're seeing them push so heavy. Monster finds yet another 1. Psycho finds Alleluia, and that's where things start to snowball on a map like Streets. You just get right into the face of your opponent.
Yeah, such a frustrating moment there for Alleluia, right? He had a phenomenal grenade, not the player to no shield, but just as that happened, a second player on his screen gets behind a wall. He wants to do damage to that player, and because it's kind of like poor timing situation, Complexity just right time, right place for all of their players. They're able to stay alive. They're able to flip the entire map. Now it's a 10-kill game, and they're all stuck in the back of Tram. They've been able to push uphill, but in the meantime, rockets haven't come up. And then the hands of Complexity, Stalker Rifle as well. And this game's starting to get out of hand here and now.
Complexity firmly in the driver's seat. Even when the Slays go in favor of ESA Blue, they bounce back and they do it with style. I talked about the Ronicle score line before, but it's getting even worse. 15-3. Forget about handling Complexity. You need to focus on getting the Ronicle off the damn map.
Yeah, one of those guys I've been seeing in the matchmaking servers a lot. He's been putting up some numbers. I'm wondering to myself, how good is this guy? In a team environment, we're seeing him have a lot of success here against ESA Blue. Looking forward to seeing what Neuronical does all day, because he's got an opportunity in front of him. We can't say the word enough. Complexity, these players, Cycle and Neuronical, the fact that they got chosen to be picked up alongside Vetra and Monster, 2 players we know a lot about. That's an exciting chance that these guys have, and Neuronical in this game too, he's showing you exactly why he got picked up.
Love the bounce back coming out of ESA Blue. Pac Mandela really stepping up, 15-9, but with 5 assists to go along with it. ESA Blue have been clawing their way slowly back into it, into this 4th quarter, if you will. Off-screen, Vetra finding the pick onto Alleluia. Pac Mandela immediately going to try to take hype, and there's someone coming to the PD. No snitches, they get stitches as you see Cycle go down. Vetra going to do the same. ESA Blue, do not count them out just yet. There is still time on the board.
Pat Mandela doing everything you can. Eventually he gets taken down, and he was the last standing troop there for ESA Blue. 45-38. So although he was able to win his BR fight, do a little damage to his second player, even a third, it wasn't enough. And that's just how it goes sometimes. Pac Mandela having a very strong game 2 performance. Just the rest of ESA Blue maybe not on the same page, not on the same wavelength there to allow that performance to get himself a W.
Rockets do end up coming up and end up in the hands of Vetra. The off the rack comes in, and the 50th kill has been accumulated here by Complexity, now going up 2-0 in the series. For a team called Complexity, it didn't seem all that complex. It seemed pretty simple if you ask me. They just played bully ball right there. I did it for a reason, all right? They just played bully ball. You love the dad jokes. What do you like? What are you like 48 now? Going on 49? You love the dad jokes.
Damn it, Tony. No, but in all seriousness, Complexity, that's one of the things you'll see in Halo is when the team knows that they're better, how far do they go as far as pushing the pace? How far do they know if we can make this team uncomfortable? We have the individual skill to get us out of some poor positioning, and you're seeing Complexity really shine in individual skill and setting the pace, and just overall knowing that they have the team that will outperform, out DPS the enemy team here in this series. And that's not a knock to ESA Blue. I know ESA Blue comes into the series knowing Complexity is the favorite, knowing how strong these guys are. For them to make that game much more competitive than game one, that's a great thing to look back on. You can even take things from that game two, where a couple things go your way. It's a 5-kill game. I think, what was it, 44-39, maybe 44-38 at the time. It's like you have all of Arcade, you have all of Tower. If you're able to get the first couple kills, you could be winning that game, right? So those are the moments where ESA Blue can go back to in time and say, hey, in this moment, we're going to get into this situation a lot in games. How do we get an advantage here instead of losing the advantage and because of it fall short? Those are kind of things. That's why ESA Blue is here right now. For Complexity, they did a good job to close the door on that game too, make sure they don't slip up enough to where the enemy team, or to where they like get upset. Winning your Slayers is big, because if you lose your Slayers to the underdog, you're going to be the underdog here later on today, I would say. And when you're going up against the Pioneers, you're going to probably need those Slayers in your back pocket to keep you in the series, to extend the series to that game 5 potentially. So that was a good job by them to once again just close the door on that Slayer, make sure it doesn't get out of hand. And Ironical had something to say about it.
The DPS that Wes was referring to is not dad jokes per series, it's damage per second. And Complexity definitely looking confident and getting aggressive. And like I said, really playing bully ball against ESA Blue. And that's what we saw without the first 2 series. And now it's ESA Blue that are in danger of getting swept in the series. How will they respond?
This is where ESA Blue can have an opportunity to show you something, right? This is the Strongholds game types. These guys are all from Halo 5 typically. They know how Stronghold works. If they can make this Strongholds game close, if they can get a trip cap, potentially show that they can press spawns, force split spawns in a way, create a difference in some of the power-up power weapons, ESA Blue could stay in this one, make it interesting, and make this a show for the fans to watch. Complexity, you know, they want no sign of that. They're able to get that first over, so they're able to pick up Snipe as well. It's going to be in the hands of Monster, and if we've learned anything about Monster so far throughout the series, he's been putting up some monster numbers. Don't expect him. All right, Chance, you got to wait. Did he shoot? That was kind of crazy. Maybe my screen glitched. I didn't see him shoot with the sniper there, but Chance has an opportunity here to really pop off with Snipe, like I was saying, but he's got a ton of individual skill, and it would not shock me if a play's about to be made.
You know, the crazy thing about Complexity is that they all have pop-off, potential. It's almost like they're taking turns. You saw Ironical going absolutely off in that game number 2, and now it's Vetra on the scoreboard 5-2, and Monster having a chance to go absolutely ham with the sniper in hands. 2 caps still in favor of Complexity, a 39-7 lead, and that lead is growing, especially as Complexity start to find slays. 3 down for ESA Blue. There's no way they're capping flags if they cannot find their way here on Live Fire.
Well, there's no way they're capping flags here on Stronghold's Live Fire, no matter what, Tony, but point still stands. There's no way they're going to be able to do any objective if they're not able to get slays, and right now, just numbers in favor of Complexity, positioning, the power weapons starting to snowball, the score's starting to get higher and higher, and look at that, the opening pick, it's going to go to Chance once again. Although he loses a teammate, it's an easy double due to his positioning. They're pushing the trip cap. Complexity is going to force spawns over towards Tower, and this is exactly what they want.
Wasting no time whatsoever to get that dub cap. Now it's going to be in favor of the AB. ESA Blue have to find a way to break the setup. They need that first pick, and with them taking out Psycho, that could be huge. And Ironical going to fall as well. A clutch kill out of Monster, but they haven't yet stabilized. ESA Blue still momentarily having the numbers, but with the assault rifle into the drop meta, hold this hallelujah, says Monster.
Monster a few times now showing you the drop mechanic. He's got it bound to his controller. That's just a separation opportunity he's created for himself to try and use that exploit to his advantage. Showing you he can do it with the snipe, the AR. It's useful with every weapon in the sandbox, ladies and gentlemen. So if you're not doing it, you're leaving opportunity on the table for your DPS output and therefore limiting yourself as a player.
And now the assault rifle in the hands of Neuronicol, so everybody having a turn with it, and Neuronicol just, it gets a little sweaty, gets a little hot and bothered. Something you got to just hop off the map, get, cool down a little bit. And that's apparently what Neuronical's looking to do. Or maybe he's big brain, a little Rhino type action, trying to get himself a favorable spawn, jump off the map, come off. I'm not sure. Why did he jump off the map, Wes? Tell me.
I'm sweating my ass off, so I figured he's probably got a better idea than I do. It's hot in Washington right now, and it's hot in the kitchen for ESA Blue. They got to figure out a way to come off spawn, have some success right now. 135 to 11. Slays heavily in the favor of Complexity, continuing to go that way. And although we hopped off Monster's screen for a second just to watch a perfect from Vetra, switch back to his screen. He's got a headshot with snipe as well. And when it rains, it pours. And when you don't have map control, it is hard to fight off your spawn. And ESA Blue is learning that here and now.
ESA Blue once again finding himself 2 down and taking advantage of Complexity. You cannot make mistakes like that going down in numbers and not expect a team like Complexity to take advantage. Over 100-point lead. And once again, the sniper rifle finding the hands of Complexity and the boys in red. The body shot comes in quick, cannot find the kill. But every one of that damage, every single tick that goes in favor of Complexity is slowing down ESA Blue and stopping every single one of their pushes. As I say that, Vetra, the only player alive here for the boys in red.
Gotta hit the no scopes. He hits both. Vetra. You hear all about his individual skill, just showing you a glimpse. Last guy alive, like you said, Tony, had to make a play in order to keep C. At least for the moment, he's able to do so. And what he did, like you talked about before, every bit of damage you do, it stops the pressure just a little bit more. Vetra able to get a kill there in the last player alive situation, denies C from being transferred. In the meantime, Complexity spawns over at A. They're able to transfer A over, and now all of a sudden, ESA Blue are having a much more difficult time trying to get C under their control, and it's because Vetra gets that first pick.
181 to 32 lead, still going in favor of Complexity. ESA Blue found around the Slays, but it didn't really convert to the scoreboard much. They were only able to get 7 seconds worth of time. Meanwhile, Complexity continue to dominate here. We do see ESA Blue try to rotate towards the A side, but it stopped on the feed and chased away as Vetra taking down Alleluia, getting the double kill onto Cabe, and everything going in favor of Complexity as they're throwing everything at ESA Blue, even the kitchen sink.
It's a hard setup to hold for A and C, but Overshield, it's going to help out. Snipe is up as well. Wouldn't be shocked if someone from Complexity is in a position to try and go for it. It's going to be a C push from ESA Blue. Unfortunately, that's where the Overshield player is. And look at this cycle. He spotted 1, 2, 3 players. All 3 of these players for ESA Blue, they get taken down. Last player alive, he opted to go A, so it was a 3-1 situation split for ESA Blue. The one, he gets caught out trying to transfer A over. In the meantime, they're going to lose B, and just like that, you're seeing Complexity take advantage of that Overshield control and flip the map further in their advantage. They don't want the AC hold to last for long. They're able to transfer A for B with that Overshield.
ESA Blue trying to rotate towards the west side of the map, and let me tell you, he comes up to the west side, but wasn't able to come up in the clutch, sadly, because ESA Blue did end up going 3 down, and with that, Complexity are going to put their 250 point on the map and pull off the 3-0. Like what I did there? The west side of the map coming in the clutch. I'm telling you, man, I'm a rapper. I'm a rapper.
I'm just letting you sit on that for just a second. I was just stone cold, waiting to see your reaction. Tony, what I want you to do is write all these puns down in a book, and I want you to hand that book to me next time I see you. I guess it'll be Orlando. And I'm going to throw that book in the ocean. And I don't want to hear another pun. I'm messing with you. It's not bad. Sometimes...
I stay up late at night just thinking of Wes and in the clutch. A 3-0 victory in favor of Complexity over ESA Blue. Single elimination. They're going to make themselves into the finals where they're one series away from taking this $500 prize pool. Meanwhile, we have ESA Red, I believe, waiting to go up against the Pioneers to find out who's going to be joining Complexity. But before we get there, why don't we toss it over to Yeso and have him break down what we just saw in that series?
Thank you, gentlemen. I've got a very special guest joining me in the studio here today on this wonderful Friday afternoon. T-Squared in for some Halo action today. Tom, how we doing, my man?
I'm doing great. It's nice to have, Friday going down with some Halo action here at Series E, and it's nice to see Complexity playing at a really high level. You just had a feeling right after that first minute of the game when that cap went in, and you watched Monster kind of popping off that they were just going to continue to run with that series. And you just got a feel for ESA Blue. There was really not much that they could do with Complexity playing so well.
Yeah, Complexity, definitely a roster that has been getting better and better over the last few months. I know you are personally a very big Monster fan. We've gotten to talk to him actually a few times throughout this season, and they just look dominant, right? Came in confidently there in game number one. Of course, Slayer, always a little bit coin flippy, was certainly closer than games 1 and 3, but Complexity took control right off the bat, really never let it go, and just kind of breezed through to that 3-0 win. And, Esports Arena Blue with at least 3 games of game tape to go back on and try and review what went wrong, but it was just pretty clean start to finish there from Complexity.
There is never a moment to breathe and reset, and that's what really great teams do. They just add pressure consistently. They don't allow you to kind of formulate strategies, and then anytime that you do start to formulate a strategy, they kind of shut it down. And you saw in Street Slayer, that was the closest game of the series, that there was an opportunity to potentially take that game, but you're down 2-0 in the series. First game wasn't really close, and that's just, a recipe for disaster and a recipe for a 3-0. So you're gonna have to kind of just go to the drawing board there, look at what you could have potentially done wrong, or done differently. Watch the cast coming out from Tony and from West, because they're mentioning some really great points that need to be handled. But you had some really pop off moments, and every single person from Complexity took their turn. All 4 players really played well that series, whether it was Monster having the hot start in game number 1, I believe it was Neuronical in game number 2 popping off, and he had 16 kills at one point when everyone else was kind of in single digits still. And it was just really impressive to see them kind of pass the baton from one player to another.
Yeah, I think they looked really good. I do want to take the opportunity here, Tom, while I have you here today. One of the big discussions going on this week in the Halo scene in general, and YNOT and Shyway got into it during their show before we jumped into the tournament today. Some big roster changes. We saw Suspector joining E United as that 4th member, and of course we finally got the official announcement on the completed and newly reworked FaZe roster with Falcated, Spartan, and Renegade joining the fold alongside Snipetown. I wanted to get your take on kind of the big roster changes we've seen, and is there a team that jumps out to you the most after making adjustments as we look ahead towards the Super, Orlando, and Worlds in the fall?
I'm excited to see kind of FaZe going up against E United and the rivalry that's going to develop right there. And looking at the FaZe roster, I think that one of the discussions that Shyway and Tony were having was that, what's up with their objective play? And, Tony mentions a great point of we're, at a point in Halo now where we've had so many different iterations of Halo that you have to be extremely well-rounded. But people may not think of Spartan as an objective player, and I think that he's an amazing objective player. He's really smart. He knows exactly what he needs to do. So I'm expecting Renegade and Snipetown to kind of take control of the slang, and you still have Falcated and Spartan that are going to be some really great slayers as well. But if you say, oh, their objective is weakness, weakness is their objective, I don't think that that's what it is. I think that Spartan's a really great objective player. I think that everybody on that team knows how to do it, but you have 2 really, really strong slayers on one squad, and it's going to take a little bit of time to gel and to kind of get their roster in the right place that they need to be, because keep in mind, you're going to be going up against other rosters that have had years of experience together, right? The Sentinels roster, C9, they've had their core for quite some time as well, so you can't expect to just come through and beat these teams on a whim and just kind of muscle your way through. It's going to take a lot of work.
It is going to take a lot of work, but that is certainly, when you want to look at like a comparison to traditional sports, that's a super team right? That definitely, when you look at the name value on that roster, that is an incredibly stacked roster on paper. And if they, if and when they can mesh and come together and really play to their best of their ability, I think they're going to be very, very dangerous. So I'm looking forward to seeing that and looking forward to more here today. Our next set will be Esports Arena Red taking on the Pioneers. Of course, those two teams battling for an opportunity to face complexity in our grand finals today. We'll have to see if Esports Arena Red can bounce back. They had an 0-3 play last Friday. They'll need to make up for that here today. We'll see what they can do after this short break. And of course, Team Squared and I'll be back to break this down after that set. Don't go far.
I'm fading!
One bad headache can crash your entire game.
Excedrin relieves headaches fast.
Excedrin, game over for headaches.
Tyson boneless buffalo bites have that tasty kick of flavor, so they're perfect for any get-together. If there are any left when your guests arrive. Tyson Anytizers Chicken. More kicks of flavor, more smiling snackers, more to love. Tyson.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We're here with Series E Pro Night. $500 on the line, single elimination, and it's an invitation only where we saw Complexity stamp their ticket in the finals, but we need a team to match up against them. So we're going to be watching ESA Red go up against Pioneers with a little bit of a new look. I'm Why Not Be Reckless, AK Why Not Be Cast, and I got my man, National Champion, and Balding, maybe, under the hat. Wes Clutch, tell him something.
I'm muted. I would say definitely balding, but I think that's just a part of life. And Tony, as most of the greats do bald over time, it's just another step in following their direction. You know, I mean, you got a solid set of hair on top of your head. Unfortunately, maybe not one of the greats. So as we go down under. Nah, I continue to give you a hard time, but it's because I love you like an adopted son.
Well, I feel the love. I feel the love. Pioneers going up against ESA Red, and something tells me there ain't gonna be much love here, because I found out ESA Red has a bit of a change to their roster. Too Nice and Paradigm apparently joining them is Ixana, formerly Exhale, and Gunplexion. Now, if you were at DreamHack 2019, this goes back a little bit, there was a 2v
Probably.
there was a 2v2 tournament in addition to the MCC tournament. It was Soul Snipe and Vetra against Gunplexion and Pyretic, I believe it was. And Gunplexion and Soul Snipe were going at each other. They were barking, and it got a little heated over in the Passion Pit. Both they met up in the winners finals, and at one point I think they met up in the grand finals as well.
Was this a remake?
This was an MCC tournament. There was a Halo 5 side 2v2 tournament that was
Halo 5 2v2.
Yeah, okay. And but they were really going at it, and it was interesting to watch. I was watching. I was like, wow, this is absolutely insane. And now that we're going up against each other here again, I'm sure they probably mended fences since then, but it was fun. Pioneers going against ESA Red. A new look. You have JK filling in instead of the young stud Talik.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how the lack of presence from Talik will allow the Pioneers to kind of perform, right? He's one of those guys on the Pioneers that I think is like the standout performer consistently. Probably my favorite player on the Pioneers, I would say, as far as just screens to watch. But I think JK should be able to do a solid job to fill in here, and I've enjoyed watching JK screen. I believe he's a very high sense player. I know back in Halo 5, I felt like watching 10 cents when I was watching JK run around the map. Not quite sure what he plays on in Infinite. I know that there's like so many different damn settings that who knows what he plays on Dead Zone wise, Excel wise, not to mention all the other noise that's in that. But he's an exciting player to watch. He's like a human highlight reel when he's feeling himself and his shot is on. So very excited to see them compete. And ESA Red, very similar story to ESA Blue the first time around, is some talent on that team. Will they be able to keep up with the pace going into the series that the Pioneers can set is a big question for me.
Yeah, I mean, the Pioneers, they've been consistently placing top 6 at the major events that counted, but throughout some of the Pro League matches and Open Series, we've seen a bit of an up and down. Now bringing in King Nick, who I got to interview Soul Snipe not too long ago. He said he's expecting King Nick to bring in a veteranship, a leadership to this roster, and to add that consistency when not only going up against the top teams that they tend to play up to their competition, but also to make sure that they're playing bully ball, kind of like we saw Complexity do against the teams that are coming in as the underdogs, if you will. Really excited to watch this. And Strongholds Recharge. This is the Pioneers' bread and butter. How would they go though without Talik? Kind of that anchor slayer. Will they still be able to be as aggressive as they want to be? Still be able to out-rotate their opponents and always keep their pressure, always keep their opponents on their back foot against the ESA Red squad, who shown during the Open Series qualifying on the 24th that they're willing to go blow for blow with some of the best, and that includes Pioneers. If any team in this esports arena, pool doesn't fear Pioneers or anybody else in this tournament, it's ESA Red. They moving with a bit of swagger.
Well, sometimes you don't need fear to get your ass kicked, I would say, and unfortunately, I was definitely someone that received that notion a few times back in my day. So it's good not to be intimidated. It's definitely something that will benefit these guys, especially throughout not just today's match, but their careers as a whole. Making sure that you feel like you belong, that's step one. You got to believe it. You got to believe in yourself. So it's good that they've had some previous success, like you said, in the Open. But this is going to be another opportunity, like I keep saying, that they're going to play one of the best teams in the world right now. And although there's like a substitution and whatnot without Talik, that the rest of the pack and on the Pioneers, they know how to play Halo. They will get JK adopted very quickly. Like Squared was saying in the interview, talking about kind of a comment you made in that Shyway cast. It was a comment based on good players. They know how to play together, man. They see the situation. They know what the right play is. They know when to set the pace. They know when to play the objective. It's never a question of can Snipe Down play the objective. No, Snipe Down is on the flag stand with all 4 dead. Hey, guess what? Snipe Down knows how to run a flag. I've seen it myself about 100,000 times. Everybody that's a main slayer, everyone that plays at that high level, you got to be versatile nowadays. Everybody on the Pioneers, they are very versatile. Looking forward to seeing them be a little bit challenged without the presence of Talik, but also JK, how quickly can they set the pace here? Because I think JK does play very fast. I think he could bring a whole another level of pace to be set by the Pioneers, and especially in a series where they come in as favorites. They want to make a statement, especially to Complexity, saying, hey, we're here to play too.
Everybody in the lobby is going to have to step up, and that includes everybody on the Pioneers to step up in the slaying role, and it includes everybody at ESA Red as well, you know, trying to solidify themselves as a newly found team, you know, adding in 2 pieces, and also trying to, you know, qualify for that 125,000 prize pool, because, you know, every game, every series, every tournament they play is all for, you know, practice and all for qualifying for that big super, and then even beyond Orlando and Worlds. When we come back, we're gonna have the Pioneers going up against ESA Red. Don't touch that dial. Don't go anywhere. It's not gonna be too long. $500 winner takes all here. You only need to win 2 series in order to claim it, but it's going to be 2 tough ones. Pioneers going up against Esports Arena Red, and we're going to find out who comes out on top.
So far, so good for ESA Red. They're able to kick this one off with slays in their favor. 6 to their name. Only 2 for the side of the Pioneers, but more importantly, the Pioneers are able to get early points. You would think ESA Red off that amount of kills would be able to have a strategy that got them in the lead. Unfortunately, they get wiped. All 4 were just momentarily dead. There is a player in A transferring it over, but just as I say that, they're going to lose B. And even though they won the battle for slays, Tony, the points that went in the hands of Pioneers, and that's got to worry you, at least as far as the starting strat is concerned, because you will never see that at high level Halo.
Really, the Pioneer specialty though, like they don't worry about the slays. They out rotate you. They get the timing right with those slays, I guess, and it just happens to work. As Ikshana on screen, Combat evolving that sword over to him. His name actually refers to the word sight in Sanskrit, but it's not really. It's more of sight with your third eye. It's more of seeing things for what they really are and seeing through your opponent. We're gonna see if these ESA Red can see through the Pioneer strategy. As of right now, it's not clearly working for them because they're actually down 44 points, 0 on the board.
They need to see themselves into a stronghold after winning the battle for slays. That's the first and foremost. But unfortunately, it's not going to happen today. The sword is coming in the hands of Soul Snipe there. He's able to find that first kill, and he says, thank you, ESA Red, for getting this combat evolved off spawn. When you lose it, you're going to pay for it. It's a double kill, killing spree for Soul Snipe, and they're going to try and push total control here shortly.
Sword in hands of Soul Snipe currently 7-3, and just making sure that nobody can push towards the A side of the map. Meanwhile, responding to callouts immediately, snaps onto that target, onto the top glass, but he has to be careful. His teammates 3 down, able to take down 1, but now Pioneers are dying staggeredly, and Esports Arena Red should be able to take advantage.
Finally starting to what you would think was going to be a moment where they score their first point. Unfortunately, at that exact moment, C, it gets hopped into. Druck's able to transfer that over, but in the meantime, A also being transferred in the hands of ESA Red. They're able to flip A for C, and now they're going to start to finally put some points. You're able to showcase that you can slay with them. The objective should be coming a little bit easier. Let's see if they can hold this setup for a minute.
Shana on screen once again. His teammates do end up going 2 down. He does see Complexion pushing heavy toward the gold side. Able to take down Soul Sniper, not able to get the kill onto Flourishly, going in for the challenge. Excellent cleanup, and because of that, gonna earn himself a shock rifle. And watch out, he's looking to take some faces.
So it is going to be Furiously instead of King Nick. I know you probably said that, but I try to tune you out a lot of the time, Tony. So just half of the Pioneers roster represented here. Soul Snipe doing his part. JK was 7 behind him. But now Ikshana, shock rifle in hand, third eye. What can it foresee? Does it see a player walking through catwalk? No, he's going to spot a player on double stack. Can't quite hit the headshot, and those are shots you want to hit to create an advantage. But in the meantime, taking a look at the score, Tony, they're right back in this one. They're just down about 14 points here, and they have showed so far that they can dominate the map control. It's just a matter of will they control the strongholds during that period of time.
JK and Flourishly, formerly of that Esports Arena Blue roster, also a part of that EMGG roster that made it into pro bracket back in Kansas City. So hopefully we can see them find some success here as Pioneers once again going 3 down and taking control as Esports Arena Red Stand Paradigm joining that double-digit club, 10-8 at the moment. Then they start to go down, can't find the kill, but makes them one shot. That's going to open up for Soul Snipe to pull off the double kill, and just like that, we have Pioneers back in the driver's seat.
You talked about the history between maybe Soul Snipe and one of the players that's on ESA Red. Well, Soul Snipe, he's fired up for this one. 13 kills to his name. He's leading the lobby as of now, but unfortunately, as we kind of preluded into this series, Tony, I thought it was 3 members of Pioneers and JK as the 4th. When you only have 2 members from your team and you're working with 2 subs, it's a little bit different of a vibe. It's a little bit different of a notion. Maybe not everybody on the same page, and although you have a lot of talent, this is an opportunity for an upset, I would say, from ESA Red, and they're showing you why. As they get A and B controlled, they get a couple of kills. They're about to take the lead here in game 1.
Yeah, I don't know if we call them a Pioneers right now. They're looking more like the Nears. You know, just half the roster we're seeing in 3 down, more than half the roster in the black screen. Ooh. Excellent shots out of 2 nice. Them shots looking too nice indeed.
I knew that was coming.
Taking out Soul Snipe and holding on to their lead as ESA Red as a fresh 3 down go to Pioneers.
If you had the under in game 1 for YNOT to drop that, you're a winner here. Too nice with the shots, like you said. And I mean, individual fights go a long way, confidence wise, pace wise, control obviously, but right now ESA continues to stay in control. And although we saw Pioneers jump out to like a 60-point lead, it has been all ESA Reds ever since.
ESA Red did not qualify for that online super $125,000, but they came damn close, and this could be some nice momentum going into this Sunday, or it could be Druck getting the double kill and getting us to the turning point of what they need in order to get a dub cap. They do have the numbers. Druck flying in, excellent shots onto Gunplexion, taking a bit of team grenades, and because of that, he might end up going down here. We have both players just hopping around in the same spot trying to stay alive.
Typically not where you want to be, but no grenades come through. They both stay alive. And then a good angle to be able to potentially do some damage onto these B stronghold players for ESA Red. They get one, can't get both, and that's a great job by Too Nice to stay alive, get the stronghold in his favor. They continue the AB hold.
Excellent job for Too Nice. Try to stay alive. Tries to find the backside of one. Sadly, it was a 1v2, and Too Nice gonna end up going down. Ixana trying to hold off the push from the Pioneers. They're sending multiple bodies onto batteries. BC setup being held here by the Pioneers, currently down in points, but up in momentum as we see them push for yet another trip cap. The objective efficiency is always there. The moment they get 2 down, somebody's already in the zone. There's no timing loss whatsoever.
This is the moment in game 1. Can Pioneers hold this trip cap? Can they get this round of slays? Unfortunately, 2 of them go down. The rest of the party, they're coming from long haul. They're here to interrupt any opportunity for ESA Red. They get the 1 kill, they chase the second. The repulsor doesn't knock anyone off the map, and because of it, JK finds the killing spree. They continue the trip cap momentarily. A does get transferred by the spawners, but if they can rotate quick enough, Tony, they're gonna force split spawns, and they've done it, right? There's 2 players bottom elevator. The rest of the boys from ESA Red, they're not gonna be here to help, and because of that, the trip cap can eventually go underway again, and he's getting bullied. Repulsor comes into pack, and now it's a 7 spree here for JK. They're going to rotate back to C, and this is what the best teams in the world do on strongholds. They push the momentum every second of the game.
I once heard you say that pressure can burst pipes, or it can create diamonds, and we're gonna find out what this relentless amount of pressure that Esports Arena Red must be feeling right now. What is gonna happen with them? Because Pioneers are not letting them off their back foot. JK on screen, currently 20 kills at the moment. The nades are starting to fly, and like we said, once that C is done, they're already in the face of ESA Red. This man's now on a killing frenzy. 10 consecutive kills without going down.
It's a frenzy. Can he get the 11th is the question. He's forced to trade because of it, but they're able to keep B and C. Look at Druck trying to push into A. The trip cap can't hit the 180 shock rifle shot, and that's going to relieve a lot of the pressure. Potentially, the scoring going to go in ESA Red's favor because of that kill, and you need to get this one on the fluriously if you're Paradigm, and he does get it, but he has to get out of the stronghold in the meantime, and the rest of the Pioneers, they've rotated to A. They continue scoring, and you have to feel the momentum that's shifted in this game. This is one of the things we see the underdogs continuously struggle with in Halo. It is when that moment happens where you end up on your back feet, they force split spawns. Can you get out of it? So far, ESA Red not able to do so.
You have to have a plan A, B, and C, and most importantly, you have to be able to close out those leads. And as of right now, it's looking like ESA Red are not able to do so. But as I say that, they are working on some Bravo. The nades start to fall, though. And before they're able to capture it, Pioneers finding the Slay stand, gets himself a double kill. Now going to try to work on the third. 3 quickly going down for Pioneers. And a momentary 1v1. But Stan going to rotate back toward the A side, give his team some good spawns, and maybe, just maybe, stop Pioneers from stealing away this Bravo hold.
Beautiful 4 shot from Druck there. He relieves some of the pressure going on to B, trying to play his life. Now we're seeing it from Too Nice's screen. Somehow Druck just doing God's work in the back of B, able to just buy time, be a nuisance, be the most difficult kill possible. And that could be where it all goes wrong, Tony. That kind of performance from Druck doesn't show up in the stat line outside of 1 4 shot for 1 kill, but the distraction, the time he buys for the rest of the boys to show up to impact this game. Look at this, it's a triple from JK, 28 to his name, and with 13 points to go, Pioneers are going to take game 1.
And although that impact isn't totally on the scoreboard, you can definitely feel it towards the game, the momentum shift in favor of the Pioneers. 240 points and counting as they work towards yet another double cap. And now all they have to do is secure A and B for just a few more seconds. And if that's it, ESA Red have to get desperate. You see one fly in, ends up going down. Gunplexion does have the sword, but it doesn't do much from the mid-range. The nades go in, 3 down, and that's gonna be it.
30 for JK, 21 for Soul Snipe, Druck with 18, and a very, very roller coaster of a game one here in this series. If that tells you anything about this series, Tony, it could be a long one, could be a great one, because ESA Red showed you at times in that game they have what it takes to compete against this roster of the Pioneers. But that being said, when it gets ugly, when the Pioneers get complete control, you got to find a way to get out of it quicker than that.
I love my Esports Arena jersey. I have it on right now, but if I had a Pioneers underneath it, I'd pull this one off because, man, let me tell you, the Pioneers looking good and really snowballing onto ESA Red despite being down for quite a bit. And now we're going into live fire, which to me is another snowballing type map. When it goes downhill, it goes in favor of the most aggressive team. And in my opinion, that's the Pioneers. The moment they find those slays, the moment they find out where the spawns are coming from, they're not going to let up, especially with no objective in the way. At that point, their only objective is to grab power weapons and to use it against you.
Yeah, you saw JK really start to heat up, using the momentum, using just map positioning and numbers in his team's favor to really push his slaying power and impact that first game. Live Fire Slayers could be one of those games where you need to control the power up and the S7, and if you're not able to do so, that momentum can heavily swing into a team's favor. I also thought that JK coming into this series, very individual skill player, plays very quickly. How is he going to match up with such talent alongside him like Soul Snipe and Druck? Well, it seems like he's able to play off those guys so well. A very incredible performance from him. Furiously, maybe not the strongest statistical performance in that game, but for JK to pop off like he did, you got to be doing something right. Everyone has to be clicking in order for someone to drop 30 like that. Yes, he's got to be playing at an all-star level, but the people around him need to be supporting him, creating chaos, dealing damage to make the kills easier, maybe taking presence and prioritization and positioning over JK to allow him to maybe pick up a few kills and get that ball rolling downhill. And that was a successful formula from them. ESA Red, I want to see, and a Slayer, it's much easier to do because the objective is slays, but with the early control that you thought ESA Red would have had that game, pretty disappointed with the amount of score that they were able to add up while they were outslaying at such a heavy volume. Fortunately for them, game 2, like I said, it's a Slayer, and if you're slaying at a heavy volume, you're probably winning the game at a very high level unless you're falling out the map shortly after. So we'll see how they kick this one off. Unfortunately, 3 immediately to go down, make it a 4th on the side of ESA Red, Tony, and this overshield could mean the Pioneers getting an early lead.
JK and Fluency have been teaming together for quite some time, you know, from Esports Arena Blue to EMGG to even recently as The Breach, finishing just 1 placing behind qualifying for that $125,000 tournament and one of the favorites to make it into pool play as they look to gain some momentum here. JK already starting 3-1, even chuck up an assist to go along with it, add his 4th to the board, and the only players that can stop him are his teammates chucking nades at him.
Yeah, and nobody for ESA Red checks bottom middle, and JK, he doesn't stop at all, right? His pedal to the metal just runs down bottom middle, even if he gets hit by a team nade. Because they don't check bottom middle, JK able to not only get his shield back, but advance on the map as well. And ESA Red going to be kicking themselves when they rewatch this broadcast and understand that, hey, JK was looking to press us at all times, even at the point where he risked his life, but we didn't check root door. So just small things like that have to be done in order for ESA Red to compete at a higher level here against this Pioneers roster. Right now, 14-8, not necessarily a blowout, not over yet by any means. But when JK is getting away with stuff, when people are able to press you on the map with positioning that quickly, and you're not punishing mistakes like that to be made, there's opportunity left on the table.
15-10 lead in favor of the Pioneers, and you know, you bring up something, you bring up the pressure that Pioneers play with, because we know how aggressive a team they are. If you're ESA Red, how do you counter this strategy of the Pioneers always holding forward, always holding on to that W key, and always putting on your back foot? How do you counter this pressure that Pioneers are able to create?
Yeah, I wish there was an easy answer. Unfortunately, there's not. You got to figure out a way to get some stronger positions to predictive nades. Grenades in Halo Infinite are so strong. You got to figure out a way to expect that level of pressure from that direction, and then in order to position yourself where you're ready to win the gunfight when it comes. Because guess what? Pioneers, they're coming. A great job by ESA Red so far throughout this mid-game performance in order to balance the swings, the momentum they're dealing with. Gunplexion under heavy fire. You're seeing JK right off spawn flying towards green. Maybe doesn't fly into green for that kill, but that kind of stuff, that level of expectation, hey, these guys do not respect us to the form where they're going to start flying at us. We can take advantage of us. And in all honesty, Tony, it gets solved with getting the first pick. You get numbers, guess what? They're going to be a lot more passive. They're going to be a lot more hesitant to push that recklessly the next time around.
Soul Snipe currently 10-4 on his birthday. I did a quick interview with him with the beautiful no scope, and I challenged him. I said, Soul Snipe, I'm challenging you to start to value your life a little bit more, because when Soul Snipe using his movement to stay alive, he's one of the toughest players to deal with, almost bound like with his creativity. ESA Red able to claw the way back into this game, but if everyone in the Pioneers can value their life the way Soul Snipe has been, those stats are going to quickly go back in favor of the boys in red.
Love the idea of Soul Snipe staying alive. 11 kills to his name, so when he's got twice as many kills as deaths, you know he may be taking that challenge, putting it in his head, and trying to put a little bit of practice where you're preaching there, Tony. Is he's having a lot of success so far in the series. Started game one off very well until JK took over, and looks like it may be the Soul Snipe game you remember. 12-5-7 as this one does cross the 30 kill mark. That being said, ESA Red, Stan Paradigm, he's done a phenomenal job to keep his team in this game. They've got overshield in hand, a couple of players towards tower, and they expect the flank, the pressure. It gets cut in half. Unfortunately, the bridge players, they come out in success. 4 dead for ESA Red, and the Pioneers, even though they lose that first kill, they have the rest of the pack there to get the kills they need to push the lead back up to 4. And that's kind of like where the cookie crumbles, Tony. You can expect the flank from one, but the 2 elbow players you didn't, and because of it, you're kicking yourself once again.
25 of the team's 37 kills coming between Soul Snipe and JK. They're just too much to deal with for Esports Arena Red, as we're on board now with Gunplexion. Finding a couple of shots up the furiously high IQ to stay play his life, try to stay alive, taking a bit of team damage though. Luckily, they find the slay onto Soul Snipe. Him and Stan Paradigm working a nice little duo. They often play at each other's house, so you'll see them screen peeking and feeding that information to each other, both verbally and non-verbally. Maybe that's the level of dualship they need to come back in this game, because ESA Red were momentarily able to tie things up.
Momentarily. 41-42 now. Trey going in the favor of the Pioneers here. Overshield in 25 seconds, and both teams competing for this ground right now. These are such crucial engagements. Paradigm with a phenomenal nade to create what would have been an opportunity and an opening to advance towards that overshield, but Akshana, he kind of recklessly dies to a grenade. Gunplexion, he gets taken down. Soul Snipe presses his advantage, and now they have overshield control in their hands. Snipe's coming up in 5 seconds. It's in the guy's gamer tag, Tony. You know he's going to get a kill if he picks this thing up. 47-42. Players on elbow as well. And no scopes aplenty for Soul Snipe.
Not able to take down the one in front of him, but finds the shot onto the nest side. Beautiful snipe out of Soul Snipe, adding his 21st on the board. And now there's just one more kill needed for the Pioneers, but watch out. ESA Red were able to get away with the overshield, and now that sniper's in the hand. The young man out of Boca Raton, but even the sniper and overshield, not enough to stop the Pioneers from going up 2-0 in the series.
Soul Snipe, we said the series was personal for him coming in. A statement made by him, hey, I remember the 2v2. I'm still here. I'm still waiting on you to get up to my level, is what he says there with that game. 20 bomb. And that's a phenomenal performance from him. When you're 20 plus in a Slayer, you know you did something right.
2-0 lead in favor of the Pioneers, and now we're moving to capture the flag Catalyst, where, again, we're playing in favor of their objective efficiency, and the Pioneers still having an advantage going into this game. You know, during the beginning of Halo Infinite, even the end of Halo 5, they made themselves quickly one of the best capture the flag teams that we've had in our league, even punching above their weight class and going up and pulling up upsets to some of the best of the best. ESA Red, they gotta dig deep. If they want to come back in this series, they have to make their stance right here, right now, and it begins on Catalyst.
I'm gonna call you out. Who's not in Pioneers' weight class?
I would say that back in Halo 5, I felt like they were able to get big wins against Cloud9, for example. And I think where I had always looked at Cloud9 as the older brother. I remember back in the beginning of Pioneers, Renegade used to play alongside the Pioneers. It always felt like an older brother type of thing. So I feel like when they would steal wins off of Cloud9, it would be like 3-1 in favor of them most of the time. And the one game type they were winning was capture the flag.
Coliseum was the name of the game. They were the best Coliseum team at the end of the day, and they've come a long way. Like you said, the Pioneers, they've come from the Esports Arena tournaments, and that's what ESA Red, ESA Blue, those players on that team, that's what they want for their careers, right? They want to be the Pioneers next year, because the Pioneers, they're performing at majors the way they want to. Maybe not with the exact placings, the expectations to win the whole thing is definitely a reality for these guys. But they definitely belong in just about any weight class they want to find themselves in. And rightfully so, they put in the time. And Tony, like you said, CTF has been a very strong point for them, but Catalyst CTF a little bit different, I feel, than maybe some of the other CTFs. Oh no, you got to hit the skewer, maybe the grapple. That'll work. Unfortunately, all that time wasted. The flag could have been down top middle, and right now in a difficult position to try and get the return, you'd have to think. And where I was going with that, Tony, is the Catalyst flag is typically an opportunity once again for the underdog to maybe steal a game, similar to those Slayers, similar to maybe the more inconsistent objectives, because I don't think the meta has been truly solved on Catalyst CTF yet.
The meta still being defined right now, but ESA Red defining the pace of this game as they move in for the return, once again putting Pioneers momentarily 3 down. Pioneers will come off a spawn, and Soul Snipe will go right back to it. That's an 8-second nap for him, as Gunplexion doing a great job of not only putting down damage but staying alive, buying enough time for the rest of his team to come off the spawn and to catch up. The push from ESA Red might not be stopped here.
We've seen an aggressive ESA Red so far throughout this game. Overshoot's coming up though, and it's in the hands of Soul Snipe off screen, and what that usually means is Pioneers are going to have a nice push in front of them. They're able to get a couple of kills, clear out the right side of the map, and we're going to see what they choose to do here. Now, Skewer, Overshoot in the hands of Soul Snipe. He wants to press this power increase.
Mr. Soul Sniper, Mr. Soul Skewer?
Skewer?
Mr. Soul Skew.
I knew you
Mr. Flag Runner is going to move that flag over towards the mid side. Still having a bit of Overshield to work with, but not having the numbers. So going to back down, wait till they get the slays, and then relay this flag forward. That's how powerful some of these flag runs are. There's so many ways you can go with it. And now Pioneers going 2 down. So do ESA Red, the third one going to fall. And now Soul Snipe will be the final player alive, having so much in his hands.
Mr. Steal Your Flag. Zixana able to get around the corner. It's going to be a stalemate for just a second. It's a 3v3 situation, and I can't even get done saying that as last guy alive is Stan Paradigm. You see Druck's going to be above him. This is a massive play that Paradigm needs to make here in order to deny this return, at least buy some time for the rest of the boys to show up. But Druck hits him with a phenomenal nade, gets the return, and that's going to be the Pioneers taking a 1-0 lead.
Love the plays out of Pioneers. They can't waste any time whatsoever. They have to watch for the counter pulls that might be coming in from ESA Red. Gunplexion finding the kill onto one, but Ixana will end up going down. Now we're seeing Paradigm trying his best to stop the push. Excellent grenades to deny access, but eventually he will go down. And now Furiously, not only dangerous with the BR, but having the grapple, things might not be looking good for ESA Red.
Not looking good right now, and this is one of those moments where they got to get a kill they probably shouldn't get, right? They got to make a play. Someone's got to step up. Someone's got to hit some shots, win a 1v1. Overshield's coming up. Your flag is being pulled. You're coming off respawn. Can you make a play to keep this at a 1-0 lead? And unfortunately, sometimes the answer is no. Are they going to allow the opportunity for that play to be made on the side of Pioneers is another question. 3 go down in the kill feed as this flag is cruising into the finish line. It's a 2-0 lead for the Pioneers, and they're showing you a little bit of that CTF expertise just within the 2 members that remain on the roster.
And at the same time as that flag cap goes in, ESA Red end up going 3 down, so there's no chance of a counter pull. In fact, they're right back on the defensive end, now trying to clear Pioneers out of their base once again here. And there's another flag pull going in favor of the Pioneers. ESA Red are being overwhelmed at the moment. They have to deal with the slays, they have to deal with these flag pulls, and everything is happening all at once.
And this is just the pace of the game being too much for them right now, and it happens even amongst the best. Sometimes Cloud9 can just hit a level of power curve where they have positioning, weapons, whatever it might be that even Sentinels struggle with. I mean, everybody at the highest level can push these advantages. We're seeing the advantages just be pushed so far in the direction of the Pioneers right now. ESA have to find a way to get some slays. Map control is the name of the game right now. You got to slow the pace down, control it yourself. And unfortunately, JK, he's just found this flow. He found it in game 1. He's carried it off throughout games 2 and 3 right now. 13, 4, and 10 alongside Druck, who you know has a field day on a map with this many ramps and curb slides. And Pioneers hitting a cruise control moment right here, up 3-0.
ESA Red are fighting for their tournament lives here, down 0-3 in this game number 3. Pioneers trying to pull off the sweep and to go up against Complexity for that $500 prize pool. On board now with JK, 14 kills, 10 deaths. Has the pulse carbine in hand. We talk about the use of the sandbox. We're not talking about just the skewer. We talk about the pulse carbine as well, as he puts it to work, putting 1 down to 1 shot, immediately changing targets to try to defend against the overshield, which I believe ends up in the hands of Gunplexion and ESA Red.
3 players to take down JK. It's pretty much what it takes. 1 having an overshield, and this is the first real opportunity for ESA Red to get in there, get some slays, and maybe a flag pull to make this one just a 2-cap game. Unfortunately, on the other side of the map, Flurry, he's overextended. He's going to play that stalemate type of a game. He's going to have the flag on the move, and if they can't dink down Fluriously, he's going to make this very difficult of a flag to try and get on the move for ESA Red. And unfortunately, none of the slays even go their way. Even with overshield, Tony, ESA Red couldn't break into the base, and now Pioneers are on the doorsteps of punching a 4th flag in.
Well, luckily ESA Red overextended. They're able to take them down, and now working on the return at the same time, a counter pull showing some life is ESA Red here. Now the question is, can they capitalize on it? Because now you're seeing members of Pioneers start to extend themselves. And of course, his Soul Snipe, the king of overextents under the CTF, gets the flag off. Gonna work on a couple of grenades as he has 3 players in front of them. Repulses them all back, throwing off the timing. A curveball being thrown by Soul Snipe as he's denying access from ESA Red without firing a single shot.
Yeah, just delaying the advancement of that flag. All 3 of those players being forced back, and look at what it's done. It's created the chance for the rest of the boys to get in there, get some kills, and they get traded out. But right now, Tony, with 4 minutes and 18 seconds left on the clock, Pioneers are up 3-0. It's a flag stalemate situation, and the longer this flag goes unreturned on the side of ESA Red, the clock starts to become a factor, and you have to start wondering, are we even going to have time for caps 2 and 3?
It's going to be tough. Well, with Pioneers, they end up going 3 down, all 4 going down. That's going to be a return, and it should be a capture going in favor of ESA Red. And with that capture, look at that. Ready, no timing loss whatsoever. Gunplexion now relaying a flag again. You were worried about time being a factor in this one, but ESA Red are answering well. We might see back-to-back caps within a minute on the board.
Flag coming in. Gunplexion looking to make this a 1-cap game to double cap. It's a realistic opportunity here, but you got to get a couple more kills. Unfortunately, the sword, it doesn't come through. Fluriously finds the biggest double of the series so far. And not only that, they're going to get the return, the potential flag on the move, block some spawns for him. That's JK's job here. And now if they can stop overextenders, they're going to push this back to a 3-cap.
There is one player that was able to extend over, so they must have to deal with him too. Nice, able to find the kill onto one. JK now firing a couple warning shots onto the opposing members. Gunplexion taking down one, but JK ends up taking down Stan. Now the question is, can he get the grab on this as he's taking some heavy damage? The double kill onto two. Nice, but the sword player is going to come in to stabilize. ESA Red are not giving up on this cap just yet.
They can't give up on it. Tournament lives on the line. They got to find a way to stop it. Complexion, they know where he is. They know he has sword. They're not going to give him the chance. Great shots once again from Fleury. So he lands the double, and it's up to Paradigm to try and stop this one. He gets the first, can't quite get the second, and I believe that's going to do it. That's going to be the fourth flag getting punched in, creating the 3-cap difference. And with 2 minutes and 15 on the clock, Pioneers are able to focus on defense from here on out.
A big cap going in favor of the Pioneers as Gunplexion going to send Soul Snipe to the sky, soaring up, able to get the kill. His 22nd on the board. ESA Red are still finding slays, though, and I don't want to say it's over just yet for them. I mean, it's going to be tough. It's improbable, but it's certainly not impossible for ESA Red at this point. But they have to start desperating for some of these flags. They have to start finding these pulls earlier than getting the slays, and here we go. Hopefully those slays start to come because that flag is moving forward and Pioneers are still 4 up on the map.
Yeah, technically it's not impossible, but someone's got to get some kills, and that's something they haven't been able to do really as of yet. And this overshield's immediately drained. Soul Snipe doing so much damage right there, even pulling the flag, just being a nuisance. The amount of presence he's creating has allowed the rest of the boys from the Pioneers to find their opportunity. Skewer in hand. Is it a twofer? No, the double kill comes through. Can he get the trip? He does it. Furiously, 3 more big ones to his name, 23 on the board. And if you were wondering why they used Furiously as a sub for today's tournament, you found out in this game.
Came in as a sub. He trying to play like a starter though over here. He playing for a contract right now as JK pushing that flag through. It's going to be the 5th and final flag. Overshoots it just a bit, but that's going to be a 5-1 finish and a 3-0 series win for the Pioneers. They're going to be going up against Complexity in a one-time best-of-5 series. It's do or die, $500 on the line, and we're going to find out who's taking it.
$500, a lot of pride. And 2 teams coming in very hot. 2 3-0s is what we saw here today. ESA Red putting up a good contest, though. Those games, they were highly competitive, right? The slays were there for ESA Red, maybe just not the objective efficiency they really needed. But the Pioneers showing you, hey, even with a couple of pickup players, we're going to be able to represent this org and do it justice. I love what we saw from Snow Snipe in Game 2. Love everything we saw from Furiously in Game 3. And it was the JK show in Game 1. And Pioneers making a statement saying, hey, Complexity, we saw your dominant performance. We're going to one-up you here with another dominant performance from us, and we'll see you in the grand finals.
JK and Flursy giving us a sneak peek of what to be expected on Sunday, where they look to qualify for the online North American Super. We're going to send it over to Yeso to break down that series. I believe T-Squared is joining them, and we're going to find out how exactly Pioneers were able to pull off that 3-0 finish.
Another 3-0 in the books here today, but T-Squared, that one looking much different than the first one we saw. Complexity, pretty dominant front to back. There was really, as you kind of said, no opportunity for Esports Arena Blue to come up for air in that first set, but Esports Arena Red much more competitive in this one. They were really kind of in especially the first 2 games almost till the end, and a very tight start at the very least for game number 3 before it got away from them. Esports Arena Red, though, looking a lot better here this time, but Pioneers come out with the win, and they'll face Complexity in Grant's. A hell of a series from them.
Yeah, that was a really great series overall. I mean, it was a 3-0, but the scoreline doesn't really do it justice for a 3-0. It could have went either way in those first 2 games, like you were mentioning, Yeso, because when you look at certain moments, though, this is what, again, really great teams do, is there's a moment where you win or lose the game, and typically it's when you're around that 80% mark in terms of, say it's the 40 kill mark, or say it's that 200 point mark when you go to look at strongholds. In CTF, it's kind of when you need to get that extra cap to give yourself the a little bit of a boost so the time limit could run out and you feel really comfortable about maybe getting that 5th flag cap, and that's what we saw right there when it was 3-1. You had a feeling when Gunplexion gets that overshield, he's running the flag, and all of a sudden, boom, 3 overextenders are happening over towards his side, and I believe Soul Snipe comes through, lands some grenades, but there was just numerous times where the Pioneers would go and clutch it up when they needed to, and that's just a sign of a really great team.
Couldn't agree more. I do love that you bring up Gunplexion, because I think this is 2 weeks now that we've gotten a look at Gunplexion meshing in with this roster for Esports Arena Red, and I feel like he's really stood out. Honestly, you know, it's tough to take a ton of positives away from, 2-3-0 losses, but I think Gunplexion has had a lot of really positive moments. Certainly, you know, some highlight plays, grappling in for the sword lunge, and but I'm really impressed with what Gunplexion has done so far. And when you look at Red and they're, you know, trying to take some big steps, especially as they look towards Orlando and try to make some things happen in the Super next weekend, Gunplexion seems to be a nice addition and is really rounding out this roster. And I think the future seems very bright for Esports Arena Red.
Yeah, I think ESA Red was looking pretty solid today. They also need to go and look at, you know, why they weren't able to capitalize on the kills as much as Pioneers were able to do. Because if you are kind of even in that slay department, the games could have been even closer. And there was a moment where they were only down by 1 kill overall, and this was, you know, a couple of minutes into the Strongholds game, but they were still down 70 seconds to 0. And that's just great rotations from Pioneers, and that's kind of how Strongholds can play sometimes. But there are things, and there's always room for improvement that you can go and do. And Soul Snipe did a great job for the Pioneers of locking down A side with the sword. He was, you know, really tough to go and take down. There was a lot of pop-off moments for him. And again, it's in one of those situations where everyone kind of taking their turn stepping up, where JK goes on this killing frenzy over towards the tail end of the game, and they ended up fighting back for the ESA Red side. But again, right around that 200-second mark, that's when, boom, Pioneers kicks it into an extra gear, and ESA Red gets left in the dust.
Yeah, they really seem to kind of find that killer instinct when they had Red, you know, backs against the wall, and they did a good job of just kind of executing in the most important moments of all 3 of those games. And that 3-0 win for the Pioneers does set us up for grand finals. We've got Complexity going up against Pioneers as we get ready for that best of 5. Of course, winner takes all here for our Friday night tournament. T-Square, what are your kind of thoughts on that series, and maybe, you know, do you have a prediction?
I hope that it goes to a Game 5. I'm excited to see, you know, potential, you know, games going all the way to this final Slayer match. But, you know, it's really tough to say because both of the teams are playing at a really, really high level. And it's going to be who comes out hot, right? Who comes out swinging. I'm expecting it to go tied up 1-1. And then whoever wins that Game 3 is going to be in a really good situation being up 2-1 in the series. I think whoever wins that, they're going to be in a good spot. If I have to pick a team, I think that Pioneers was looking really solid, but I'm going to go with Complexity instead.
I'm actually going to agree with you on the Complexity front. I think Carmea and Monster have looked just really damn good over the last 6 to 8 weeks. This team just looks really nice. I think Neurotical fits really in well with the roster. And I agree. I think it goes 1-1, but I think if, you know, whichever team does win that pivotal Game 3 is likely able to kind of snowball that through game number 4 and take a 3-1 win. So I'm going to take 3-1 Complexity. But I think it's going to be a great series regardless, and Clutch and YNOT will have that action for you all here in just a few. We're going to hit a quick break, but when we come back, we'll have our grand finals for today's event. Don't go far.
Tyson boneless buffalo bites have that tasty kick of flavor, so they're perfect for any get-together. If there are any left when your guests arrive. Tyson Anytizers Chicken. More kicks of flavor, more smiling snackers, more to love. Tyson.
nothing, baby. Let's get in there. We are back with the finals of another Series E Pro Night, and we know who our two contestants are going to be. It's actually Complexity going up against the Pioneers. I'm YNOT Be Reckless, the second swaggiest person on the screen. I had to give it up to Yesoka, man. The chains were on point. The Cloud9 sweatpants were there as well. Clutch had about maybe a close to tied for 7th place, but obviously T2 coming in. I would say probably about a tie between me and T2. And, you know, you're up there, you're somewhere. Grand Finals, Complexity, Pioneers. Game number 1 is going to be Strongholds on Recharge.
You're... Okay, I'm sorry. I'm just messing with you. Once again, every time you do this from now on, I'm just going to put you in pure silence. I'm going to put you in timeout. There's going to be that 10-second spiel where you have to sit there and think about what you just said. So
fair.
That's what's your timeout. All right, let's get some grand finals underway. Tony, we got, like you said, Complexity on one side, an absolute powerhouse from the looks of it. Young Guns trying to prove themselves, a lot of success online versus makeshift Pioneer squad. Coming into this one, Tony, who do you favor? And you can't answer that after Vetra does this, because I have to be inclined to go with the boy that hasn't missed all day, putting together a highlight reel for us early and often. Vetra, he's got 3 to his name, finally gets shut down, but damage has been done.
To be honest, I was going to say I love the Pioneers, and if this was a full roster, I might have gone with them, but the fact is kind of a half and half between the Breach and the Pioneers, and this is the full Complexity roster that not only qualified for the Super, but did it through the winners. I got to actually go Complexity as the favorites. I might get yelled at in the chat, though.
Nah, I'm agreeing with you here. I think Complexity with their full roster, guys that practice together every day, they should be able to take this one, especially as strong as they looked. Pioneers did put up some good stats, some good performances against CSA Reb, but it was individual performances from Pioneers that really stood out to me in that series. We've seen all of Complexity pretty much clicking on all cylinders so far throughout this tournament. I know it's been a brief one, but when Vetra and the boys are playing like that, with the team that you scrim with daily, you come in here expecting to win no matter what team you're playing.
Psycho Heatwave in hands, 2 kills and 4 assists. I actually love that score line. Only has died 1 time, and now you're seeing him slow down and just stop anybody from pushing this perimeter side. And once they do, he makes them pay. He understands that Pioneers love to get aggressive, so he's just waiting for them to push towards him.
Waiting for it. This first hill, it's going in the hands of Complexity. You're going to start to wait for the tower hill to become a reality. It's going to be JK that wins that first pick, and because he gets that first pick over towards the tower, he's going to not only give his team spawns, Tony, but a massive opportunity to get an early lead here. Unfortunately, in the meantime, it is going to be Complexity with the overshield. That overshield gets back smacked on screen, though, and that was a massive flank, I believe, from Druk to be able to get that kill onto the overshield player. And when you are able to go 1-for-1, you not only neutralize that power up, that opportunity of a power moment for Complexity, but you continue to score points, you continue to spawn your teammates closer towards the hill, and continue to push this towards a 1-to-1 game.
I don't know if that was just a back smack. That looked more like a backhand coming from hell. Man, 1-0 lead in favor of Complexity, but we do see Pioneers in the early seaside setup, stopping every push that Complexity are able to put together. We do see the green gun finds the backside onto Neuronica once again. We see another one coming from Soul Snipe, goes in for the double, taking down his former teammate, and just like that, Complexity don't have the numbers nor the resources to be able to break this setup that's being held by the Pioneers.
Soul Snipe 8-3-5, love the reposition with the repulsor, flawlessly in the kill feed again, but unfortunately in the meantime, Complexity have been able to fight off spawn. They've been able to kill all 3 members, and now they got to find Soul Snipe, take him down, flip the map on its head right now. Soul Snipe can't quite find the opportunity to get back top tower with that repulsor, and because of it now, all of a sudden the Pioneers, their respawns are staggered. They're going to have to wait for Soul Snipe. They end up not waiting. The pressure from Complexity is too much, and they're able to stagger the spawns once again. They're going to be able to crawl back into this one, but they basically have to play perfect, and JK's got to make plays to cap this point, and both are starting to happen right now. Last player alive's bottom tower, and JK's on the prowl, finds another one, hits a body shot on the player top middle. You know he's got to drop, and now all of a sudden Complexity starting to build some momentum, potentially building a 2-0 lead here if they can continue this kind of presence, but there's only so many bullets in the S7, and all of them got to be put to work in order to do so.
You cannot stop this man. You can only hope to contain him. Vetra, 15-5, making 16. He's absolutely dominating. And look at the Pioneers. They are one tick away from stealing this hill. Complexity started with literally 0 time. They have one broken setup, and now they're absolutely dominating here and about to go up 2-0. Talk about never giving up.
Who is this guy is the question. 17-3-5 and not missing a bullet along the way. Absolutely unbelievable for them to come back in that hill. All Pioneers needed to do was break the setup once, but Vetra didn't let that happen at all, and it's the Vetra show. We're all witnesses. He finds an 18th, repulses or hits the heat wave as well, the grenade onto a third, and it's just a highlight reel continuously. We need to continue to watch his screen because he's got 19, and similar, a setup for Pioneers, but it's almost for how long?
Vetra out here making the game-saving plays, making the plays that matter, looking like a young Wes out in these streets.
I never played like that.
Cycle taking down Truck. Numbers still in favor of the Pioneers. Soul Snipe trying to find an entry point. Love the bait and switch that comes in. JK doesn't need the help. He's going to steal that kill anyways. And just like that, Pioneers taking control in the early game. But we saw the same exact scenario in the second matchup, and we know how that ended.
Someone's got to step up. Someone's got to make plays to respond to Vetra's performance. Soul Snipe taking it upon himself, finds the triple. Overshield is going to be coming up, but this hill needs to go in the hands of Pioneers. You cannot go down 3-0 on this map Mo combo. And right now, Soul Snipe fighting back, showing you he's a powerhouse of his own. Just a matter of, can you stall Vetra enough to get this overshield to get this point? Because right now, it's up to Cycle to try and get this overshield, but this point's guaranteed go to Pioneers.
Cycle was, his teammates were 3 down. How does Cycle end up with this overshield right now? Obviously ends up getting melted, but that should have definitely gone in favor of the Pioneers right there. Either way, a little 3v3 scenario. Finally, Pioneers find themselves on the board, but they still have a little bit of a mountain to climb here, because just because you take 1 doesn't mean you can take 2, especially when Monster sniping the soul of young Michael.
Body's a player in house as well, and not typically the most ideal positioning for the S7 to be in the hill here on this overshield, but head on a swivel. The small lacrosse coach used to always say, let's see what he can do. Unfortunately, just too many angles to deal with, and that's what I was alluding to. You don't want that S7 in that hill. You want to be able to get top tower, maybe support the objective player, but unfortunately, Monster going to end up making that poor decision, and all of a sudden, the Pioneers, they recapture positioning, and they may be able to tie this game up.
This is the opportunity that the Pioneers were looking. We've seen multiple players ratting it out, waiting for Complexity to extend. Monster, though, able to find the Soul Snipe in the corner. And love this play by Flurcy to stay alive. Ultimately, they're sacrificing a bit of hill time, but with him staying alive, he's buying enough time for his teammates to come off the spawn and maybe push back onto Complexity, who are not fully in their setup.
It's a great flank. I love that play by him. Although it took a little long, it ends up working out. It's a killing spree, and now look at this. He's able to impact the rest of the fight. Last player alive. He's in the hill. Slight work of Monster right there. JK finds a double in the kill feed. And now Pioneers, moments away, maybe 1 round of slays away from tying this game up. What was looking so promising for Complexity 2 hills ago.
Flurcy yelling slight work and then telling the rest of his team to deal with the light work coming in. More slays going in favor of the Pioneers. They're just taking turns at this point. JK whipping out the assault rifle. 36 bullets of pure skill gap. Not able to get the kill, though, as Druck gonna have to come in for the cleanup. Either way, the Pioneers able to steal their second hill, and they're already getting set up for the third.
Yeah, massive rotation. This hill is going to be a tough one for both teams. This top middle hill is so difficult to try and gain a significant amount of time, but guess what? Top tower, it's the place you want to be, and Druck, he's relocated there knowing that this is the powerhouse position. Unfortunately, he's not able to get there in time before not only the Cats make a mess, but Complexity makes a mess of the rest of their setup as they lose multiple members, and they eventually are able to take him down. A good job by Pioneers to know what to do, but you need to be a little bit quicker in order to do it.
Love the scoreline by Solstheim. Not only 22 kills, but 11 assists to go along with it. But has participated in 33 kills. By far the most on the map right now. And while that, he's also gaining some valuable hill time, but he is going to be taken down. Druk looking for the slay onto the tower side. Love the use of the heat wave, but not only is that player playing the heat wave off the map, he played Druk off the map with that repulse.
Neuronika's going to take JK down as well. That's a big one. A quick scope from Vetra, and oh no, when it rains, it pours. And when Vetra finds the snipe, typically ends up in the heads of the enemy team. Pioneers are going to have a tough time breaking this one. In another situation, Tony, where I think you take the time to get out of the hill with snipe, right? Like, with how good Vetra is playing, with how dominant the S7 can be from a top tower position, you got to find a way to just give up the few seconds of hill time. Unfortunately, Vetra making a bit of a rookie mistake there, loses his life with that snipe, and we'll see if he pays for it.
Well, he was able to come off a spawn and take down Druk, so not that sniper being used as bait, it seems like. Nobody able to get a hold of it just yet, but like you said, it's the difference maker, and Monster has it in his hands. We're going to find out if the Pioneers can answer back with this cap, and they're not going to be able to do so. They're able to find one pick, but the third capture going in favor of Complexity, and now Pioneers really not only playing against the scoreboard, but also playing against the timer at this point.
And an Overshield player in the hands of Cycle right now. He's already made his way to green. He's got a couple of players to deal with. Unfortunately, doesn't quite see JK on the POV there, and because of it, JK is going to remove that Overshield player from the map. A massive play from JK to keep his team in this one. Finds a third as well on a Monster, and you have to think that's what Pioneers need in order to get a good chunk of this hill in their favor, but unfortunately just too much pressure from the Complexity respawners as Druk does get his shield back eventually. It was difficult for him to do so, and somehow that shot connects because he hit a body there as well. I believe he does. Druk saying back up as more hill time goes in the Pioneers' favor.
Gonna trade out that empty sniper for a BR, but still has that heat wave in the back pocket. Does Druk. This can be used for any push that Complexity tried to formulate here. Love this ability to not only stay alive, but to continue to be a nuisance on the thorn in the side of Complexity. As we do see that capture come in, we were tied up at 3 apiece. At this point, 1 minute and 21 seconds for either one of these squads to capture a fourth and final hill.
Fourth and final hill. It comes down to this. If you wonder if this series is going the distance, game one seems pretty promising. Back and forth, these two teams have gained a lead, tied the lead, and now Pioneers trying to figure out a way to, for the first time here in game one, not only get the lead, but secure the W. This battle at tower is so important, and Druk staying alive is even more important of a factor in that being a reality for the Pioneers, but the jump is expected, and Complexity get a few slays in their favor. Overshield coming up, and this one could be big, Tony.
Overshield might go in the hands of Neuroniko. Never mind, he gets peeled from across the map. Fluorescently finding a kill as well, and just like that, Pioneers have broken through the defense of Complexity, continuously putting them on respawn, and the comeback might just be real as the Pioneers are approaching the halfway point of the zone. Complexity must be feeling the pressure.
Yeah, Soul Snipe, it's too quiet for him. He gets out of hill. He kind of understands that, hey, there's a lot of players that are probably coming from elbow, back tower, maybe doing the jump on the side of the tower, and wisely gets out of the hill. Unfortunately, they lose 2 members anyways. Complexity, they overtake the tower, and although Druk gets away with snipe, gives up positioning the hill and maybe the lead in this fourth and final hill, the seventh and final hill, this fourth potential point, I should say. And unless Druk does some work with the snipe, this is going to be a difficult one for the Pioneers to break. He can't do it. He gets taken down. Complexity have numbers, and now it's up to Furiously to try and make a play. He gets one. Gets taken down, though, in Complexity. They're going to get tower spawns. They're going to get in the hill. They're going to take the lead here, and the Pioneers are going to be pressed for time to get back.
Pioneers are going to have to break this set of Complexity. Pulled off a full wipe. We do see the double push coming from the net side. Soul Snipe able to find the pick onto one. Drug going to follow it up. So 3 out of 4 members will end up going down for Complexity.
No.
Psycho answers back with a double kill, but Flourishly remains in the hill, the only player alive on the map, and that is such valuable time coming in. Monster extending for 1, but they need to get this man out of the tower side. Chase him down. Get off my lawn, says Monster.
This battle couldn't be more chaotic, but it's going to go in the hands of Complexity. They get 3 dead. Furiously was the first kill. He's coming off respawn. And look at this. This is going to be it, Tony. The Complexity roster has done it. They have taken game 1. And what was such an up and down affair the entire way through, it was always Complexity playing from a tied position or the lead. It's only right that they find a way to end it on a high note. And Complexity now take the lead in this grand finals 1-0.
That game was about as consistent as a roller coaster, and Complexity did have the ultimate response to be able to answer back, despite the fact that Pioneers were looking so good in the Slays department towards the end game. Complexity knew what they had to do. At that point, it was all about execution, and that's exactly what they did. They executed the Pioneers towards that end game to end game number 1. I'm a firm believer in momentum. Complexity now have control in the series. Going into game number 2, I'm feeling good if I'm Complexity. Wes, how do you feel?
Yeah, I think this series could really go the distance. I know Squared alluded to it earlier, and these two teams, they seem to be both playing at a very high level. Individuals are starting to step up and make plays across the board, but Catalyst Slayer, it's a difficult one to call, more of a coin toss for me. It could go either way. If you're Pioneers, you definitely don't want to go down 2-0. I mean, that's as obvious as Tony's. I was going to say something probably inappropriate broadcast, but I'll keep it off.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you keep it to yourself.
Road.
You keep it to yourself.
I'll take the high road. I'll keep it for you in person. That being said, Complexity, you know how bad they want this. It's their full roster. They may have more of an opportunity here in game 2 with like the new map mode Catalyst that plays very odd. It's much easier for a team of a makeshift roster in the Pioneers with 2 subs to potentially have a difference in how they want to play this game mode.
I think Pioneers need to treat this game number 2 like it's a game 5. I don't want to fall 0-2.
I don't know what that means, but I've heard you say it several times.
I don't want to fall 0-2 to Complexity. At that point, it almost feel like it's over at that point. It's so hard to reverse sweep them. So at this point, they have to fight like their tournament life is on the line. Win this game, otherwise you're kind of chalking the series at that point. You have to tie things up right here.
Though. In the best of 5, reverse sweeps happen too often, and Pioneers are too strong. Don't count them out.
Okay.
But like you said, momentum, something Complexity I feel like thrives on. So in the meantime, Cycle thriving in chaos, triple to his name, puts the members of Pioneers on their back feet. And Tony, you might call the series after game 2, and might be right, actually, with how well Complexity's playing, and if Cycle can make plays like that, because you know Vetra's going to pick it up in the meantime.
Whoa! Almost able to get the sword off. Druck that's getting the kill onto Cycle right in the nick of time, and just like that, Pioneers starting to gain a bit of momentum, or going 3 down. I guess that works too. Complexity holding on to their lead, in fact doubling the enemy's team scoreline as Vetra finding a pick onto Soul Snipe. That overshield coming up in just 20 seconds. Complexity can use this to add to their lead, or maybe the Pioneers can use it to come back in this game and hopefully the series.
Complexity have the position. You can see Pioneers trying to push out of the base, trying to create some space, but Cycle shutting them down again, finds a double in the feed. Another kill from Vetra's point of view is potentially going to award Complexity what you would think is overshield control. Someone's got to go for it, though, and unfortunately, it's actually a Pioneers player off respawn that goes for it first. JK, he gets melted, though. Wow. Look at these slays. Complexity actually no intention of going for that overshield, kind of just baiting it, and the Pioneers are feeling this game slip through their hands, so they're forcing their hand, going for it. Beautifully done by Complexity, and that's what I'm talking about, a difference in strategy. What one team thinks they're going for the overshield, the other team has an understanding we are baiting this overshield with map control for free kills, and Complexity puts that strategy perfectly into place. And now all of a sudden, look at the score, Tony. It's a 12 kill difference, 23-11.
I'm really impressed with Complexity's ability to understand how to play the space here on Catalyst. It's such a new map, and well, you kind of mentioned before, we're still trying to define the meta here. Complexity know exactly what they're looking to accomplish here. They know what the game plan is, and I'm really loving it. On board now with Fluriously. Gonna try to advance forward, work a little 1-2 combo with the Druk, maybe a bit of bait and switch, having 3 players in front of him, make it 4, because all of Complexity are now surrounding the red side. It looks like the slay does go in favor of Pioneers, and just like that, the response, the recovery out of the Pioneers to get them 3 out of 4 down is gonna bring them within 9 kills.
It's the thing, Tony. Complexity's built such a significant lead. They're able to have that happen to them, to have that set of slays go against them, still have that 9-kill lead to play around, still have this advantage. And as long as they're able to figure out a way to stop this momentum, make sure it doesn't get out of hand, they've done their job, right? The Slayer, it should be over in the side of Complexity. 9 kills, not easy to make up. Make it 10. Complexity somehow figuring out a way to just trade damage out to efficiently get a few kills back in their favor. And with Overshield coming up again, I'd love to see Complexity run it back. The strategy of not going for it, let's just bait it with a little bit of map control that we have. But this time around, Pioneer's going to have a lot more map control to play around. And potentially, if they can get this Overshield in a safe spot and still intact, this is how Pioneers get back into it.
Like the Golden State Warriors in their prime, Complexity looking to dominate the third quarters right now. Trying to bring us into the end game, trying to put this out of reach. But Fluriously grab it, holds it at Overshield, ends up getting the pop, does have 2 players in front of him. The damage does end up coming in. And just like that, Fluriously not able to get the value that he wanted to get from that Overshield. 2 quickly go down for the Pioneers, and Complexity fastly approaching that 40 kill mark, which I consider the 4th quarter.
Yeah, they're playing so well right now, almost defining what it means to play great Halo on a map like Catalyst Slayer. But the Golden State Warriors comment, Tony, you do stuff like that in the middle of games that we're gonna have to have a conversation.
I wasn't comparing. I was just saying, like, the third quarter dominating the third quarter.
The thing is you did compare. You did. But rightfully so. They're playing at a very high level, right? You're trying to complement the guys. They're playing extremely good individually, extremely good teamwork. The strategy, though, it's what's gotten the difference for me here, Tony. Not often you see a team run away with the Catalyst Slayer, but here and now, Complexity have had this lead, and they haven't looked back. They've actually extended it up to 11.
Nirvana coming in with the sword. Coming in fast and furiously, taking out Fluriously. Vetrov screen taking down Druk, and with that, only 2 more kills. Make it 1 more kill needed for Complexity to go up 2-0 in the series, and that's why I think it's almost over at that point. Like you said, I know reverse sweeps are possible, but my question is it probable? Especially against a squad as good as Complexity and as good as they've been looking here in this tournament. They might just be $500 richer after this next game.
And it's not about the $500 for these guys. They want to make it big. They want to perform well, not only in the Super, in Orlando. And this is about time and effort putting in to practice and to improving and to continuously being able to repro that level of play. And Complexity, what they're doing today, they're playing at such a high level. You want to win this 3-0 at this point in order to go into the Super confident, like sky high confidence, right? And it's all about building that confidence for these big moments, putting in the time and the effort. And although that $500 is a nice treat to have this week, or on a 2 best of 5s case for Complexity, they're very focused on creating an opportunity to make statements on the global stage, on the biggest of stages, on a LAN environment, and they're doing everything in their power in order to get there, right? They're putting in practice, they're putting in work, they're having great performances in tournament play, and you love every bit of it.
You're allergic to your own BS. That's what it is out here.
I'm allergic to the puns that you make and the comparison of Complexity to the Golden State Warriors, which we will have an offline conversation about.
I was just saying, dominate the third.
Complexity is a great up-and-coming team. You compare them to the Golden State Warriors. The disrespect sometimes.
Stronghold Street's going to be game number 3. normally I would say that the Pioneers are the favorites. Like, even with the iteration of JK and Fleury, normally I would say that they would be the favorites going into Strongholds, but with the speed that Complexity are playing with and the way they've been able to dominate not only the scoreboard, but the pace of the game, I really think this might just be a 3-0. I mean, Streets is tough. It's unforgiving. You make one false move, and that might just be it.
It's true, but the side of Pioneers, you got a couple of veterans. I'm looking at Druck and Soul Snipe to have great performances here, keep their team into it. Druck had a great game, too. Wasn't enough, though. Can you do enough to get the job done to push this series to a fourth? You push game, you're down 2-0, you win game 3, Tony, all of a sudden, somehow, your confidence, momentum, it's on your side. And Complexity, they feel that. Everybody in this series has been reverse swept before, so everybody knows what it takes in order to get the job done in that direction, and everybody has had that slip through their fingers and said, what the hell just happened to us? And everybody starts to think about those moments that they look back on. Complexity needs to find a way to shut the door on this series before they let the Pioneers in.
Do not give them any room to breathe. Should be running through Complexity at the moment, and looks like they had a momentary lead, but Pioneers have stolen that double cap, and with that, now the lead goes in favor. The tides are being turned, going toward the Pioneers, furiously able to find the pick onto Vetra, and just like that, they're waiting for Complexity to push. We're seeing a patient Pioneers right now here in the Strongholds, which I'm not used to seeing. I'm a little bit surprised. JK able to find the kill onto Neuronical, and now you're seeing Complexity start to die staggeringly, start to die one at a time on their way to pushing towards these zones.
Great nade one shot there from Soul Snipe. He's going to be able to take both these players out, you would think, but once again, Vetra just too smooth. He takes him down. He's going to be able to get some great opportunity to potentially transfer B over, but as I say that, a second player on the side of Pioneers got there in time to shut him down. Pioneers jump out to an early lead, and if it is going to be a game type that probably gets the Pioneers back into this one, it is going to be probably a Strongholds, I would think. And they've started this one off doing everything right. This set of rockets is important for them to get, though.
Well, Monster's able to steal those rockets away, goes down to one shot, not able to fire off that second one. Soul Snipe going to be the final player alive, 8 seconds. He goes to the respawn screen as all 4 members momentarily going down for the Pioneers. Complexity look to take advantage of it, stealing away Bravo. Pioneers work the out rotate onto the A side, but looks like Complexity are perfectly fine with working Subway, but here comes the Pioneers once again.
Pioneers, name of the game is pace. They're setting it. A big kill from Druck to finish off the damage from the rest of the players that pushed in. You know they want to transfer B into their favor. They're going to force the cafe spawns as well. So although they're going to lose A here momentarily, you can bet your last dollar, Tony, that they're going to transfer over B, and they're going to look to try and be aggressive if they get the first pick.
And the sun will not come out tomorrow for the Pioneers if they're not able to win this matchup here. It will be a 3-0 finish for Complexity, but looks like they're well aware of what's on the line, as we do see Vetra breaking through over toward the B side. The Pioneers having the lead, but Complexity are looking to change the course. Fleury ends up going down. Soul Snipe gonna join him, and that's 3/4 of the team of the Pioneers, who now have to are forced to reset.
Unbelievable flank from Vetra there. Just slows any opportunity that we would have seen as far as the push is concerned from the Pioneers. And now all of a sudden, A&B in the favor of Complexity. They're starting to score. How long can they hold it? You can see Druck trying to make his way to A. I believe there's got to be pressure on the C from the side of Complexity, but I'm wrong there. Rockets are coming up. 3 go down for Complexity. It's an overextension on the side of Complexity that may come back to bite them, because it's the exact time rockets are coming up. And you see JK on Druck's screen with those rockets. That was a massive blunder by Complexity to choose to push there. And if you choose to push, you better get the kills. They don't get the rockets. They lose C because of it. And now Pioneers are continuing to build a lead.
Fleur was trying to make a wave over toward the C side, but he is going to be dominated now. That Subway control going in favor of Complexity. Half the team does end up going down. Druk gonna try to find an angle to find a desperate pick that they need because they're dying left and right. The assault rifle does end up coming out, and once again, the Pioneers getting wiped. Complexity finding the picks that they need, and because of that, they're gonna earn themselves a trip cap. They may be down in the score line, but the momentum is in their favor. The energy is at an all-time high. Complexity might be able to come back and steal the lead.
Slow it down, give up A. You do not have the numbers to compete for it right now. You need to get your shield back if you're Vetra. Oh, doesn't even matter. No shield, no problem. He finds a way to find the kill on the Soul Snipe through the gap in the tires from the pillars. And Vetra trying to be aggressive there. Maybe an overextension, but if he doesn't get that kill on the Soul Snipe, we're looking at Pioneers once again swinging momentum in their favor off another failed push from Complexity, but Vetra bails him out. He gets the kill, he stalls the push, and now it's allowed the rest of Complexity to come off and compete for B.
And once again, Flurcy, the final player alive for the Pioneers as Complexity continue to get back-to-back-to-back kills. It rolls downhill, and that's what you're seeing for the Pioneers. You're finally seeing that pressure that normally they're the ones creating. It's Complexity that are putting it right back on them. Flurcy going down once again. Vetra just defending that mid ground, waiting for those rockets to come up, using it as bait. You know the Pioneers want to get it in their hands. They need it to break the setup, but it's not going to be easy.
If Complexity want to end this series here in Game 3, they got to get these rockets. That's the biggest win of the game right there. Vetra gets his, but nobody else is home for Complexity. 3 go down, and now all of a sudden, Pioneers, rockets in hand, pushing the trip cap, looking to potentially stay in this series 1 game longer. That's what it takes. That's the mantra right now for the Pioneers. 1 more game. Can we get it to 1 more game in this series? Can we get it to a Game 4? When you're in Game 4, can we get it to a Game 5? Let's finish it there. 4-deck Complexity, the power, the momentum, it's all in the Pioneers' hands, and you best believe the comms are starting to get loud as well.
I'm not gonna lie, you just made me a believer right there. And with that, the Pioneers using that trip cap, too much momentum on their side. They're able to steal away the lead, working onto the B side, getting the reset, and now Complexity 3 down. They're able to steal away that alpha base, but now the Pioneers moving back, waiting for Complexity to push up and waiting to get the picks here. The setup is being held by the boys in red. We do see Monster try to break away towards the midway point. He does have Neuronical onto the dangerous side. They spot one, not able to get the kill, but Neuronical does end up getting the cleanup. Complexity finding numbers, and they're not done yet. 3 down go the Pioneers, and back in the driver's seat is Complexity.
What a play by Monster on screen. Didn't get a kill, but what he did was get a guy to no shield with the heat wave, stayed alive, hits the slide bottom middle, and if he doesn't hit that slide, I guarantee you that player running upstairs takes the time to shoot back at him. But because he hits that slide the way he does, he hits an angle so fast that that player can't track him, doesn't really understand that that Monster was no shield, gets great damage onto him, transfer C in the meantime. So Monster doing absolutely nothing in the statistical category, but making an absolute monster of a play there, getting control back in Complexity's favor, and what a better time to do so because rockets are coming up.
It's plays like that that don't show up on the stat sheet, but they can win you games as Pioneers move into the double cap. Vetra getting a double kill onto the feed. Monster finding the 3rd. And once again, numbers in favor of Complexity. They're taking advantage of every single mistake that Pioneers are making. And because of that, they now have the lead and yet another double cap. And we are fastly approaching that 200-point mark.
Let's see what Monster has to do for us. Notice that there's a player in arcade, just finds himself in a Pioneer sandwich. It's going to end up being the first kill. A second one goes in the Pioneers' favor as well. And Neuronical has a lot of responsibility here to try and get a kill. Fortunately, he's got Psycho with him. He's got the Bulldog in his back pocket, and those are easy kills for him to pick up. Now that he had a couple of teammates deal some damage, he's able to prioritize the kills. And this is going to be it, Tony. Complexity with map control, with B in their favor, going to transfer over A, and I love this by Neuronical. He's going to predict that one player to spawn in PD. That player gets out, although he takes damage, no one else is going to spawn with him, and Complexity should have been able to get that kill. Unfortunately, they weren't able to, and all of a sudden, it's going to make it a much more difficult situation for Neuronical here.
Bulldog in the hands of Neuronical, trying to make a play with it, not in the proper range. Is Druk going to make him pay? on board now with Monster, able to put up 20 kills so far, working onto the C side. Once again, Complexity still away one, but Pioneers working on out-rotating, overextending. But now the double push out of Complexity. Half the team of Pioneers end up going down. Complexity working on B, and Monster working on the pressure. Coming to the tires, finds the back smack. Pioneers going 3 down, and Complexity putting in the work.
4 dead, forcing a split spawn as well. The first one spawns Cafe. Good pressure by Monster with the slide again. Movement coming into play once again. Blocks the spawns. Nobody else is Cafe, and because of that, they're going to have an advantage. They're going to have A. They're going to have B. They're going to have moments away from taking this series 3-0. They get Rockets as well. He gets taken down momentarily, but Monster's positioned perfectly to relay that one like a baton in a race. He's going to be able to pick up those Rockets, start his version of the sprint, finds one, finds a double, rotates to B, and now it's a trip cap for Complexity to end potentially the entire grand finals.
3 down go Pioneers, trip cap in favor of Complexity. That might just be the nail in the coffin as we see one try to extend towards the A side. He's gonna be cut short, and there's just not enough time to work with. Complexity 3-0ing the Pioneers.
What an unbelievable performance from Complexity. And I know that this is a makeshift Pioneers roster. Only a couple of guys from the OG roster that we'll be seeing next Sunday compete in the Super. But this should show you that Complexity can play with a lot of talented players, because there was a lot of talent on that Pioneers roster here today. And Complexity still came to play, still played good textbook foundational decision-making Halo. And typically when you see the guys on the roster of Complexity, we've been preaching these guys for a couple years now towards the end of Halo 5 and up and into Infinite, right? Like, hey, they got skill. When will they learn how to play force? When will they learn how to rotate correctly? When will they learn how to prioritize passive versus aggressiveness versus objective play versus when do I let it go and slay? You're starting to see those decision makings come alive. You're starting to see small things like the movement skill gap give them opportunity to create separation in the positions of advantage. And a few times there, I pointed them out. Monster hits these slides, and like these slides are like just like Shyway joke videos on YouTube where I'm like, these don't really like impact the game unless you're doing it with the decision making behind it. And when you're understanding that this is my opportunity to push the pedal to the metal and then you hit the slide, that's the moment where it actually comes into like a production value for your team. You're seeing that out of those players, the Vetras of the world, the Monsters of the world. Like, they're doing that in the right moments, and that is something that will never show up in this in the stat category, that you only literally have to understand why it worked in order to like understand how important it was that this happened in this moment. Big things from Complexity all series long, big moments from Complexity that show you they're starting to catch on.
True Halo IQ isn't defined based on your knowledge of the tech, but more your understanding on how, when to use it. And as of right there, we saw Complexity just put it all together. And like you said before, we've seen the talent for so long, but now it's starting to come together. And when you have 4 individually talented players that are just playing the game on a fundamental level like we're seeing, you have a team that is ready to contend with some of the best. There's a reason why they made it through the winners bracket to qualify for the Super. Again, through that winners bracket, we're talking about upsetting the likes of Fnatic, SSG, that team with Envoy and Tony, crowd pleasers with Kratos. Like, they upset a lot of squads to make it through the winners bracket, and it's because they are the real deal. Wes, it was an absolute honor. Love the Esports Arena, what they do. $1,000 tournaments every single Monday. If you guys want to get involved, those are open tournaments. Anybody can get along. On Monday night, you'll find me and Wes probably this Monday casting once again. On Fridays, these are invitation only. $500, nice and quick, single elimination, winner takes all. You may not be able to participate as a player, but I certainly love viewing it. Wes, we went back and forward for quite a bit, but you know I love working with you. I see you, I want to say like an older brother, but it's more of, I would say, a great grandfather. I would say like a great,
an adopted son from a foreign country that's 18 years old and like doesn't listen to a word you say. Doesn't respect you at all. That's my relationship with you. I love you like that.
Well, I do respect that. You're a national champion and national treasure that we have in our scene. Clutch, do you have any final words for the audience at all?
No, it was great to once again be a part of the ESA broadcast, man. It feels like it's been forever. Continue. I know I'm booked for a little bit, and I just continue to embrace the opportunity to get some highlights of these top 12, top 16, 24 teams. And it's like there's so much talent. And let me tell you, like, for the guys on ESA Red and Blue that maybe didn't have the performance that they wanted to today, or maybe they played individually well, it's like those things don't go unnoticed, man. And you just got to keep putting in the work, keep showing up, keep clocking in, because every single one of us since like 2007 when the league was established and they were top pros, like, you had to grind, right? Like, there was a top 16 clutch, there was a top 24 clutch, there was all sorts of different placings along the way. But if you believe in yourself, you put in the work, you can achieve your goal. It's not going to happen overnight. Not everybody is like the snipe down or like where it happens their first tournament and they put the world on notice, right? That hard work, it pays off. It's a matter of just continuing to learn from your opportunities. I think ESA Blue and ESA Red, they had opportunities today to learn. We'll see them next week and see if they learn from these opportunities and they can put together a better performance. As far as Complexity is concerned, looking forward to seeing you guys next week, that's for sure. And then on the side of Pioneers, I mean, Druk, Soul Snipe, it's always love with you guys. Looking forward to the showcase that you guys are going to put on. And then JK, Vetra, Gloriously as well. You guys came out, you did your thing, and it was a pleasure to cast over you. Looking forward to seeing your young careers prosper.
Well, the same way that there was a top amateur clutch, a top pro clutch, and even a national champion, there was a Tony. That's pretty much it.
There was a Tony at some point.
There was a Tony, and there was also an amazing audience that we have here. Thank you guys so much for watching. It's been absolutely incredible. Thank the competitors as well for putting in a massive amount of work and putting on a show for us. And also the same way that our pretty faces are in the forefront, there's plenty of ugly faces in the background that are making this tournament run. So big shout out to Esports Arena and everybody on the production side. We're gonna send it over to Yeso and T Squared to close out the show.
Man, the grandfather crack at clutch, the ugly faces behind the scene. Tony chose violence here on this Friday afternoon. We're back here in the studio. I got T Squared with me. Tom, feel free, take your victory lap. You called Complexity correctly there. They looked damn good in that series.
Yeah, I just wonder when those two are gonna just get over and kiss already. Honestly,
Right?
The bromance is real. When's the wedding and where is it? I'll be in attendance for sure. But Complexity just dominated. They did a really great job. But really, when you looked at Vetra coming over towards that hill over towards Tower side, and when you only had a sliver for Pioneers to get, and he locks that down, that had to be a little bit demoralizing, but more or less a huge confidence booster for Complexity. They had to get fired up from that. If you don't do that, you end up losing that game, and you don't even know what happens once you're down 1-0 anyway. So I look at really the whole turning point of this. There's so many different turning points, but you have to give it to that little moment right there over towards the Tower side. That was huge.
Yeah, it definitely feels like the point that you made about KCP after the first series we saw from them talking about, hitting those important point thresholds and then being clutch when it matters most, having that kind of killer instinct to finish those games. And we didn't really have to see that from Complexity in their first series. As we talked about, they were kind of able to breeze through that one, take early leads and just ride that to the finish. This one was much closer, and it felt like they came in with that killer instinct there, and it felt like every time KCP tried to make it close, tried to get over that final hurdle, Complexity was right there to lock things down, make the right play, settle the series down, and it just turned into an impressive series here. And I mean, this is a Complexity team where when you're talking about the upper echelon in competitive Halo, FaZe Clan, Cloud9, Sentinels, Optic, a lot of these names come to mind, and Complexity is outside of that conversation, but they are very, very quickly coming into the conversation of one of those teams that can be that real big threat outside of that S tier. They feel like they're starting to become a team that can compete with almost anybody on any given day, and I think it's going to make them incredibly dangerous going into the Super next weekend, and it's going to make things really fun come Orlando.
Yeah, they have to just keep building confidence, and this is a great way to do it, whether that's practicing scrims, doing the ESA, tournaments, whether it's Series E or whether it's, Open Day or Pro Day, just putting in work constantly. And that's how you're going to be able to build that confidence, and you're going to have to outwork these other teams. That's why they were able to get to that point. They've been teams for quite some time, so if you have a little bit of a new roster, you need to just continually put in that work, gain that confidence, and showcase what you're made of. And this is a great step right there. I mean, just to win the way that they did, not dropping a single game today, back-to-back 3-0s, and now they could just go and focus on even improving more after this. They can go and watch the VODs, watch the theater, and see exactly what they did right, what they did wrong. Some things that they did extremely well was just the great baiting and switching. There's a great overall awareness of the spawns, how the game needs to be played, but you look at the final moments of that Streets Stronghold game, and you see Monster make an amazing play when rockets were coming up. He doesn't challenge down there and lets one of his teammates grab the rockets. The rockets end up getting delivered to him because of that. He jumps over, wastes one rocket on a no shields guy. Not that big of a deal. Shoots another rocket over towards B. Yeah, he doesn't get the kill. But again, it's just these things that, Wes and Tony were talking about that aren't really necessarily showing up on the stat sheet. Great job of deciding when to challenge, when not to challenge, where to go, where to place yourself, how to work with your team in all of these instances, and it's all happening so fast.
Yeah, the teamwork and the skill definitely on display there for Complexity in that series as they take the 3-0 win over the Pioneers. They take a nice $500 home today, as well as the title for our Pro Night champions here at the end of Intel Week. Tom, it's always good to hang out with you. Any final thoughts here as we get ready to head into the weekend?
No, just shout out to the players for playing. Shout out to everyone out in the chat. The ESA crew behind the scenes as always. Shout out to all of our sponsors, and we'll see everybody next week for more Series E.
You bet we will. We will have plenty of Halo and Apex action going on next week, so don't miss out on all of that. Big love to Tony and Clutch for covering it all here today. Also, a reminder, if you missed out on the YNOT and Shyway show at the start of today's broadcast, it's already up on the Esports Arena YouTube channel. They talked about a ton of stuff from the upcoming super big roster changes, live Q&A, and more. So if you want to check that out, head over to the Esports Arena YouTube channel and make sure to go and follow and show some love for my man T Squared. For myself, T Squared, and the entire live broadcast crew, thank you so much for coming to hang out with us here, and enjoy your weekend.